We've made it through 2 humiliation rituals at Texas when it comes to DFS. We have one more to go. The Würth 400 at Texas Motor Speedway today at 3:30 p.m. Eastern lock at 3:43. And with me to break it all down, as ever, the Duke of the DFS Army, Taco. I know this is your least favorite week of the season. Texas is nobody's favorite racetrack, or nobody's favorite DFS racetrack. But surely we can make some hay today, make a little bit of money at Texas.
Surely, right? I have some ideas. I actually have some stances on this race, a bit out there, but I think you have to be out there because, like we were saying before the starts, this race has been god awful. From it's entertaining to watch. Like, I'm going to a buddy's house, we're gonna watch the race. He's not gonna fall asleep stage 1 or 2 like he would at a normal, whatever cookie cutter track. There will be, I think the lowest amount of cautions that we've seen here in the next gen era is 11. And we've had as many as 16. We had the 2022 exploding tire race that you can't even look at that. There are multiple races in the track history here that you can't even consider. Everyone last year that ran well finished horribly. We'll get into all that, but this is like last week, Talladega. I always say it's predictably unpredictable. Super easy to make money last week. The snake drafts were literally so free. We had big winners. Shout out to Tristan for the big take down the piston last week, won $30K. It's our boy there. This week, I would consider it unpredictably unpredictable, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. I want to get into Texas here in a second. Before we got to recap the O'Reilly Series race yesterday. The perfect amount of frustration. We had some half Allgaier domination. We had half Larson domination. They ended up scoring similarly, and it just became a strategy game. But I think yesterday was just such a beautiful demonstration of what makes Kyle Larson so much better than almost any driver we've ever seen. Didn't have the best race car, was getting gunned down in that last run, and still just kind of won comfortably. And it's just what Kyle Larson does.
Yeah, I think that has to be, not only was that the record for the highest salary, but as a result of that, the record for the most fantasy points in DFS NASCAR history without being optimal.
Yeah. He had 82, and I don't think he was in the optimal. Would have loved to see Justin Allgaier get a little more aggressive there, but that's not his style, so you can't blame him for that.
He just is allergic to winning at Texas. I don't know what it is.
Very frustrating race. But so if you're joining us, if this is your first time joining us, whether this season or this weekend, Texas Motor Speedway, 1.5 mile in the cookie cutter format, as they would say, D-shaped oval. But what makes Texas so unique, there's really, there's lots of characteristics, but varying degrees of banking in 1 and 2 versus 3 and 4, 20 degrees of banking in turn 1 and 2, 24 degrees of banking in 3 and 4. The only intermediate track on the circuit that has that feature, or true D-shaped oval that has that feature. If you're running good in 1 and 2, you're probably not going to run good in 3 and 4. Very rarely do we see people hooked up at both ends of the racetrack. There's also, and these are what caused so much of the calamity at Texas, the exit of 3 and 4 gets really, really bumpy. It really funnels guys down into 1 or 2 lines. There's big bumps on the exit of 3 and 4, or the exit of 4, I should say. Makes it very, very difficult. Texas is also a very wide racetrack. The corners are huge, but only about 30 feet of them are raceable racetrack. The high line will come in. We saw it come in a little towards the end of the O'Reilly race. The middle lane is not probably going to be viable at all. It'll be high lane or low lane. But ultimately, especially in the next gen era, we have just not seen any. We'll get into it here in a second. Almost impossible to pass, deadlocked. I was telling Taco before the show started yesterday. I watched the first stage of the Texas race last night, and the top 10 did not change for the better part of 40 laps. It's just impossible to pass.
That's the thing. The only way to pass here is to be aggressive. Why are there so many cautions consistently year after year here since the repave? Because of people being aggressive. This absolutely punishes people for daring to go into the old PJ1 that isn't ready for most of the race and will cause you to spin out. Your right rear is going down. Pretty common here. Touching the grass at all whatsoever will cause a giant restart wreck. Like we've seen not only more overtimes here than at pretty much any other track. I know in the lower series is the most. I'm not sure if it's the most in Cup Series, but I wouldn't be surprised. But also just the most really cautions overall, just quantity cautions.
Yeah.
And it plays like almost like a super speedway, but at the same time, it doesn't have the scrubs can run up front factor of the super speedway. So it's extremely unique, except it's hard to use like intermediate speed really at this track. Cause I mean, you can't even use like where you're running at in the race to predict where you're going to finish. It's almost like completely random. We'll get into the finishes here, but it's just absurd.
Yeah. And the other frustrating part about Texas is for the last couple years, we've seen Dominator points wiped off the board because so seldom does the fastest car get a good finish here for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. So if you get 40 Dominator points like we've seen guys do in the past, but then finish 30th, and that's just 40 points off the board, and it becomes a pure PD type of race. Whereas if they, finish 10th, then they become kind of a borderline play. It can be very frustrating. Texas is very, very unique in its calamity and its difficulty to pass, and still we get weird finishers. And I think what we do very well is identify speed. And for the last at least 3 years, speed has not been an indicator of finish at Texas.
Oh, 4 years, certainly. Because, again, that 2022 race was that was one of Goodyear's worst flops of all time. But, I mean, really, even since then, it's just been this. Texas is just Texas. I'm just glad we only go here once a year.
One thing that will be really important today is pit crew. And we were just talking before the show. I couldn't find an example, and maybe you guys can. Maybe you guys can remind me, but I haven't been able to find a single example of the leader on a start or restart losing the lead. And it's because you have to funnel single file by the time exit of 4. So you'll see guys hang side by side through 1 and 2 and down the back straightaway. But by the time they get to turn 3 and 4, the bottom line is going to prevail. The second place car or the outside car needs to get down or up before they get to the bumps on the exit of turn 2, so they can't hang on the quarter panel. I have not seen a single example of the leader losing the P1 spot until at least like 10 or 15 or more laps into a run. So pit road is going to be so important. We'll start by looking at the pit stalls. I want to clear up some comments before we do. What's up, Clint? And yeah, I like the video. I always forget to change the color. I like to be consistent with my colors. There, blue. What's up, Clint? Yeah, I like the video. Give the video a like. Why not? Tattoo in the chat. What's up, Tattoo? Bad idea to fade hosts. I mean, we'll get into that for sure, but that's definitely going to be one of the big questions of this slate is how long can Hocevar keep the lead, and how long is that first stage going to run green?
And can he finish the race?
And can he finish the race? Yeah, this has the potential to be pretty chaotic. Ken not going to play much today. I kind of agree with that. Let's take our winnings from Talladega and save them. Watkins Glen's a lot more fun from a DFS perspective, but even next week might be a little frustrating with Zilich and SVG in every race next weekend.
I mean, the next 2 months are quality racing and prime coverage. There's a lot to look forward to once we get past this week.
And Eric Barger, normal questions every week. Are we worried about leaving money on the table? Yeah, definitely not a track where you want to leave too much salary. Taco, what's kind of your most salary you're going to leave?
Like 1,000 to 1,500. You can get weird at Texas just because it's Texas. And there are some really cheap guys that are viable. Again, it kind of depends on what you want to do. If you want to just kind of walk away with some money, you may just want to go down low, grab a bunch of ownership, almost play it like a super speedway light. But if you want to win, like you have to have whoever the Dominator is, who's probably pretty expensive. Like there are 3 guys, the 3 highest salary guys that are pretty clearly the favorites for this race. And I think a lot of fantasy points going to come from picking the right one of those guys, and they'll all come with some ownership. So I don't know. I do like heavily attacking ownership, like in via pivots this week. Like some of my favorite plays are extremely low owned. I think this is the ultimate week to do that because, I mean, if finishing position is going to be random, then why just take guys that every optimizer sim is jamming down everyone's throats. I just think it's a great week to pivot and be different.
Yeah. Any setting for ownership? Probably global max 40 or 45, and then bump it up for some. I mean, Bubba Wallace, Ryan Blaney. There's some guys starting at the back that you're probably going to want to get a little more exposure to.
Maybe like 170, 160. There are. I mean, the problem is all the plays who are starting in the very, very, very back are going to be high owned, but you do want those plays just because of how like this is a carnage race. It's more of like the guys starting up front who are high owned who I want to be under on just as a principle.
Yeah. And how many uniques? If you're doing a run 150, you can probably let rip two uniques. Yeah.
I usually do one. Man, a race like this, I like two.
2 DOMs and PD the optimal way today. Yeah, you can do 2, or you can do at least 1.
One, because at the last few races we've had only one person from the top 10. The rest all place differential make the.
Yeah, and like I said, you can let it run with 1 DOM, and even if there's 2 or 3 DOMs in the race, there's a good chance that one of them will find issues at some point and get knocked off the table anyway. So
I mean, I honestly like no Dominator rules, because imagine if Larson gets involved in that carnage the last 2 years, you'd have pure place differential lineups be optimal, because Larson was the only one in the top 10 who, like, the top 10 fantasy scorers who even started in the top 10. Like, place differential has ruled here recently.
Got lineups with 3 to 5K left. That's a lot, but I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility with how chaotic Texas can be. Heim top 10. Heim's going to be one of the big stories of today. He's run so well on intermediates. Obviously, those 2311 cars are so good. The big concern with him is just his pit stop is so below average, or his pit team. We'll get into pit stops here in a second. For single entry, build the cash lineup and then pivot 2 spots.
Sure.
Yeah, certainly an option. Why do you want PD if it's so hard to pass here? That's a great question. And this is the best way to. So I will sort this. This is the lap by lap breakdown of last year's Texas race. And this is the average running position of every driver ranked. So Kyle Larson had the best average running position at Texas last year. Of 3, he finished 4th. Then look at Reddick, who had an average running position of 7th. He finished 21st. Then it was Hocevar, who finished 24th. Then it was Byron, who finished 13th.
I mean, 4 guys that's averaging better than 10th average running position is just the pure definition of carnage. So while it's hard to pass, it's not hard to crash. It's not hard to DNF, as you can clearly see. So all the best cars.
If they figure it out, then this could be a very, very top-heavy optimal lineup. But we have not seen a situation where they have figured it out in the next-gen era. Look how frustrating this would have been last year with a guy like Eric Jones, who ran 15th all day, started 14th, and then finished 5th. Like, how do you predict that from a DFS perspective? Or what about a guy like Ross Chastain, who started 17th, never really cracked the 15th, think it was a good fade, and somehow he finishes 2nd?
I started 31st. That was chalk.
And then the opposite of that is true too. Look at Tyler Reddick, the fastest car on the racetrack, 36 fast laps, never really found the lead, ran in the top 7 against the 17th place starting spot all day, and then finished 21st. Like, it's just these races get so noisy at the end. That's what makes it PD heavy.
And there are a lot of overtimes here. Reddick was the best. Yeah, he worked his way through the field, was the best car for a lot of that race. Got up there, finally was leading at the very end, and boom, instant wreck, gone, done. We've seen that so many times here in all series.
Yeah, and I would say that Reddick last year was the best example we've seen of somebody being able to pass. So we had the caution at 20 last year for, I think it was Noah Gregson spun. Everybody pitted. Reddick came out 14th. And over the course of that run to the end of the stage, actually drove up to first, was battling with Austin Cindric before Denny Hamlin blew up right before the stage. And Cindric was a nose ahead. So Cindric ended up winning that stage. But Reddick did drive from 14th all the way up to first in about 50 laps. It just took a 50-lap run. So we have seen examples of guys being able to move through the field. Just a lot of the time, it doesn't end up mattering.
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating how consistently this is, because it really should. The thing with Texas is, like, this has to be like by far the track with the most leaders wrecking by themselves.
Yeah.
Not even including the 2022 exploding tire race. Like, even since then, in all series, we've seen the leaders wreck out by themselves a lot. Like, for example, Josh Berry last year in this race. Like, it's super frustrating.
Ultimately, this race will probably be won and lost on pit road. So the last it's hard to tell. When was the last caution that they pit? It must have been this guy here.
It's hard to tell when you can't make it one
lap. I can't make any sense of caution. That. I mean, just look at the end of last year's race.
It's like the restarts are so bad here.
Anyway, this race will probably be won and lost on pit road. So it's a good idea to get a good idea of who's going to be fast, who has success on pit road. I think Reddick was probably the dominator last year, but he got let down by his pit crew over and over again. So on pit road at Texas, not a very difficult pit road in terms of maneuverability, pretty big pit stalls, but it's always a good thing when you have a good entry in and a good entry off. So we look at our race favorites. We'll start with Tyler Reddick, who's got a clean entry in. This 34 car might be a bit of an issue because Reddick is going to be ahead of the 45 in running order all day. So if Reddick comes in, he pits, and then the 34 is going to have to come around him to start. And by the time Reddick wants to come out of pit road, he's going to have to drive around the 34. Usually you see guys work this out together. Reddick will short stop in his box, and they'll ask the 34 to long stop. But, you know, this is an issue for sure. We also want to look at the 5 car. He's another race favorite.
He'll be safe. Finchman's going to be laps down.
Yeah. Clean entry in, the 66 right in front of him. This should be laps down. So this should be a clean entry in and a clean entry off for every pit stop for Kyle Larson. That's very positive. 11, clean entry off. Joey Logano in the 22 right behind him. Be surprised to see Joey Logano ahead of Hamlin in the running order. So Hamlin should drive in and then Logano driving behind him. He shouldn't have to drive around Joey Logano at any point. So this should be a clean pit stop.
It's a bad spot for Logano, who I have as one of my fades here. Just one of many reasons to not like him. That's a terrible pit stall for him.
Yeah, 2 competitive cars around him. Hocevar obviously has a very good pit stall as well. But it's always worth noting, taking a look at these, because we do see all the time these pit stalls end up mattering. Next thing we need to do is go over to fastlap.io and go to the pit stop analyzer and see who's got the best pit crew. And it starts with Christopher Bell. He has led this. The Christopher Bell 20 team has had the best pit crew all year across all races, and they've maintained that. New feature this week, you can see the weekly trend. They're averaging about 9.5 second per 4-tire pit stop. This is ranked by average pit time of their best 10 all year with a slight decay built in. Ty Gibbs is right there too. Chris Buescher is going to be an interesting one to talk about. Obviously, he's got a great starting spot in P2, but he's got a top 5 pit crew. He can definitely stay up there. Some ones to be concerned about, or to mention, Hocevar, much better pit crew than he had last year. Top 10 pit crew. He lost the lead in the first stage because he had a bad pit stop. His pit crew is much improved. Some guys that don't have great pit crews. Tyler Reddick still has been underperforming on pit road. And they've actually been trending down the last couple weeks. That's what killed him last year. That's a bit of a concern. Ryan Blaney's pit crew has been pretty bad all year. William Byron's pit crew has been pretty mediocre all year. And then I talked earlier, we don't have a ton of data for Corey Heim because I only have his Kansas in there, but his Kansas pit stops were pretty forgettable. That's probably like a D-tiered Ty or 2311 pit crew. It's probably I mean, that's a concern when it comes to Corey Heim, but definitely probably going to need at least a top 15 pit crew to win this race or just be that much faster in Tyler Reddick's. But for like William Byron, can he hold the lead on pit road if he finds the lead? You know, it's a big question. You definitely need to consider this stuff. Okay. With that in mind, let's head over to the historical tab. And Taco, you were talking about this earlier, what we saw last year in terms of DK Optimal was pure place differential with one single Dominator that didn't even win the race.
Yep. And I mean, imagine if anything happened to Larson in this race.
And then it's John Hunter.
Yeah, because, I mean, a lot of these place diff guys scored pretty similarly. It's not even that, you had guys in the top 10 that were kind of borderline. Like, no, Larson was in a world of his own when it comes to guys starting in the top 10. The next closest was his teammate Byron, who barely scored at all. Got 33 points, nowhere close to optimal, and was expensive.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, here's the optimal. You've got 90 lead laps and 21 fast laps included in the optimal, and then a couple from Blaney as well. But look at all these fast laps that got killed.
Yeah.
60 from Cindric, 22 from Hocevar, 41 from Barry. Like, we just see a lot of Dom points wiped off the board.
Mm-hmm.
Similar story in 2026. We had one Dominator that didn't win the race, hit the optimal, and the rest was pure place differential. And again, only a handful of Dominator points ended up hitting the optimal. 77 wiped off the board with Larson, 37 wiped off the board with Hamlin. And then we go back to 2023. This was a little more centralized in terms of starting position, but still, two Dominators in this one. First evidence of two surviving Dominators. Larson didn't even hit the optimal here. So one Dominator in this race. That was Bubba Wallace.
He was too expensive.
And then all place differential after that.
Yeah.
So
definitely don't do at least two. That will box you out of the optimal the last 3 years here.
But the frustrating part about it is, like, we have just all of our data points show that, like, there's 2 or 3 Dominators in this race. It's just only one of them tends to survive. So if we get a situation where 2 of them just happen to survive, or somehow, some way we get a less chaotic race today, it's going to be very frustrating. But
well, it'll build you those lineups certainly. And if anything, just lowering the amount of those lineups is going to be helpful, because it can happen. Just we haven't really seen evidence of that.
Yeah, the data for the last 4 races at least has been 1 Dominator and 5 place differential plays.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just such a frustrating race. And we do, like, if I sort by lead laps here, you'll see, like, there's been a lot of lap leaders in the last 4 years at this race, because if you do come off pit road with the lead, whether it's with no tires, 2 tires, or 4 tires, you're probably going to grab 30 or 40 laps led. And the only time we've seen significant domination out of anyone is when they've been able to hold the lead on pit road consistently. Bubba Wallace in 23, Larson did it in 23, 24, and 25. Other than that, you just kind of have these bespoke. Chase Elliott comes off first. He gets 44 laps led. Byron, Josh Berry, Reddick, Hamlin, Chastain. It's really just a matter of getting off pit road P1, and you get to bang off 40 lead laps.
Mm-hmm. And the field will get shaken up with these cautions, just because over and over again we've seen the gamble of staying out work.
And
like last year, for example, Todd Gilliland stayed out at the very end. It worked out for him. He got a top 10 finish out of it. Had no business, You
look at this race last year. We had that first caution at lap 20. You look at the other side. You got some guys that jumped up. Josh Berry went from 6th to 2nd because they took 2 tires. I think Busher, if I can find Busher here, he took 2 tires on that stop as well. He went from 12th to 3rd. And then, like I said, once you get settled into that position, there's no passing going on here except Tyler Reddick up here. Yeah. Everybody else is hard stuck in their position. So no tires, 2 tires, 4 tires. It's all viable. I will say this is a different tire compound than we used previous years. This is the right side tire we've been using at Kansas and Las Vegas, a softer tire in theory. So the tire wear might be more significant this year, but I think even, at Vegas, tire wear wasn't really a talking point. We kind of saw the same Vegas race that we saw the years prior. So I don't know how much that new tire compound is going to affect things, but if it's anything like last year, it's going to be very, very difficult to move organically. It's going to all happen through pit road and carnage.
Yeah, and this is what makes it different than a super speedway. So, I mean, the carnage at a super speedway involves, like, this not being like this. And maybe at the end of last Talladega race, sure, but usually you see guys flying up and down the field like crazy. Here, it is just uniform, then crash, uniform, then crash, uniform, then crash. Insane restart, then follow the leader. It's just the back and forth.
And this is where it gets so frustrating, is So, you know, the last 40 laps of this race last year were pretty much run under caution. The last 40 laps of this race were kind of run under caution. The last 30 laps of this race were kind of run under caution.
Yeah.
It's just what happens at Texas, and it's because of those bumps off of turn 4. When it gets late in the race, guys think, I'm not giving up my position. So I need to ride over these bumps, and then it works for the first 3 and then doesn't work for the 4th, and they all wreck. So
yeah.
If somehow, some way we can get through the final stage green, which has never happened in the next gen era, then we might see a pretty we might see a pretty or a less unusual optimal, but we just don't have any evidence.
Yeah, that's why it's just best to get freaky this week. Carry on, be silly.
Yeah,
play the mini max over, like, you know, the engineer, the burnout. You know, just one of those weeks for me. And carry on to, I mean, the next month's gonna be quality racing.
Let's go through a few comments. Angelo, going to anybody playing F1 lights out in 45. Is that early? Is the race that early?
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. Yeah, I don't know enough about F1 DFS to give you any tangible info, but if anybody in the chat can help Angelo out. Case Smooth, 16 penalties. I assume he means 16 pit road penalties last year. That's crazy for Texas.
Yeah.
And we saw that in was it the truck race or one of the Xfinity, one of the lower series races had a bunch of pit road penalties this weekend too.
I think that's a truck race.
Yeah. Hamlin or Larson or both. I mean, take your pick.
Either.
Yeah. Larson's been better at Texas. Hamlin's been better this year.
I would say Larson simply because he costs less than starting further back. And that's like it.
We'll get into the driver by driver. I love Bell as a sleeper. Yeah.
Hey.
I was looking at that too. I love that as like, because he's going to be pretty low owned today. And like, why can't Bell's got the best pit crew? Why can't he get the lead at some point and bang off 50 laps led?
That's my stand. Yo. Hell yeah, man. I'm with you all the way. Case move.
Hello from Mississippi. What's up? D'Anipalo from Mississippi. I got 4 people starting 30 plus. Hope it works out. Yeah. I mean, that's probably like, I'm not going to play a ton today, but I just a couple silly lineups like that and just see what happens.
Hell yeah.
Byron winning today. Definitely a Byron type track, and definitely the type of track you could see Byron turning it all around. He looked pretty good in practice. I'm just worried about his pit crew. It's been really bad this year.
I mean, he has the best track history, but this is not a place you almost want to have good track history here in the next gen. Like, but that would be much needed for Byron.
Yeah, definitely. Hope the Chevrolets can get their ship pointed the right direction. Thanks for making my points. I had a back and forth about playing Hocevar. I will have 0 of him, but someone argued that he might be a play off of other Dominators, even if he leads laps and finished. Yeah, it's really, for me, Hocevar has so many questions around, like, okay, so how long is that first stage going to run green? Because he's off the start, he's probably going to lead every lap until the first caution. Then the first caution, is he going to hold the lead off pit road? Probably not, because somebody's probably going to take 2 tires or somebody's going to stay out. And then it's a matter of how many lead laps did he have and how forward towards the front can he stay? And then it's a matter of can he finish the race? You know, we've seen Hocevar be a crash race.
Yeah, most of the time he does not finish these races, but he's turned over a new leaf. You know, he's got his flag on, win the truck race and all. We'll see. I
would love another Hocevar win today. I think it would be fantastic for the sport. But he's just one of the most volatile pole sitters we've had in some time.
Mm-hmm. And we saw this exact situation play out last year.
Yeah, top 10, he won't make the board, not enough points. He's a fade for me with all other options for PD. Yeah, I'm with you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need help. Oh, he's talking about F1. Oh, shut up. Good job. Cool. Hello. Hi, Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott fan in the chat.
Hell yeah.
You don't think Gabe Hart is working with the Cup teams? Yeah, I'm sure he is. I haven't been following that lawsuit very closely. I know there's a lot of bad blood between Spire and Gibbs right now. But I also don't think it's as clean as taking a Toyota setup and sealing a Toyota setup and then just putting the magic numbers in the computer and all of a sudden it makes your cars faster. I don't think it's that clean. Obviously, I don't know the inner workings of that. But yeah, I have to imagine Gabe Hart is supporting the Cup program, despite what the lawsuit says. But again, I'm not sure that just makes the Spire cars Gibbs cars automatically. But I mean, and hey, we saw Austin Dillon do that, so maybe it is that simple.
I mean, it's not like iRacing you can just download a setup. I mean, you can hear Denny Hamlin talk all the time about their technical alliance between JGR and 23XI, and while they're looking at the same stuff, actually executing and making a car to take advantage of that speed is a really tall task.
Yeah. And, you know, there's a lot of things that go into this that have nothing to do with setup too. Like there's single source manufacturer relationship, there's part management. The way it's been described to me is like all the parts for a next gen car are essentially the same, but there is minute differences in this part. Like manufacturing has inconsistencies. And if we there's 190 people in the stream right now, and I hope they all like the video. But other than that, if we all took the same Lego set, all 190 of us, you put us in another room for 2 hours, told us to build the Lego set, and we all came back with our Legos, a lot of our Legos would be the same, but we'd have some, like everybody would be a little different, even if we followed the instructions to the T, just the way that things get put together and information is digested by different brains and different systems. We'd have 190 bespoke pieces of Lego for the most part. And that's kind of what the next gen car is like. So I don't think it's as clean as Gabe Hart coming in and just putting Gibbs information into the Spire system.
What's comfortable for one driver isn't comfortable for another's driving style.
Yeah. Can AJ Allmendinger, I'm assuming, rack up a lot of fast laps today? That has been...
Those Kansas laps are fake. I wouldn't really go chasing that.
But I will say what AJ has been doing a lot. And this is what's so frustrating at a place like Darlington. Texas, not so much, but it can happen at Texas too, is he backs his way into Dominator points because he has to pit off sequence due to a mistake, and ends up having grabbing a bunch of Dominator points. Let's look. So Kansas, whoops, sorry guys. AJ Allmendinger, Kansas, he had 23. Darlington, he had 29. Vegas, he didn't have any. Let's go to Texas specifically. Has he's only run the one race, and it was pretty insignificant. Yeah, so if he pits off sequence, definitely a possibility, but probably not something I'd go chasing today either.
Yeah, it's hard to project that. Like he could very easily get 0. And in Darlington, while I think due to the Darlington's the only other track really where you get like the 2 significantly different corners on it for intermediate tracks, at least. That actually is one of the highest correlating tracks to Texas, as much as you want to care for that. But just, I mean, do keep in mind that it's in a completely different aero package now this season. We can look at previous Darlington races, but for this season's Darlington race, it was run a completely different aero package.
Yeah. Oh no, I've lost my train. Oh, I was just going to say, this is one of the main reasons why I would like to stump for a reconfiguration of the DFS scoring for NASCAR. I think it's long overdue. And I would like fast laps to be removed entirely as part of that, despite ruining the branding of my website. I think fast laps are not a predictive metric, and I think it just adds variance. I would like to see a reconfiguration of DFS scoring in NASCAR. I think it's time. It's been 10 years.
Go to the old scoring so you could have Lynn Riggs be even more optimal on Friday and have Blaney be 12K each week.
Yeah. Let's play with here's what I would do. Make laps led worth 1, get rid of fast laps altogether.
So FanDuel.
No. And then place differential. A positive place differential is worth 1. A negative place differential is worth a half. Yeah.
That's what I thought that before.
I would like that because I think it's more interesting to have to figure out if the 12th place guy is going to finish 9th versus a 24th place guy finishing 17th.
And what about top 5 scoring out of your 6 to give you 1 DNF?
I would just like it to match the new scoring in NASCAR where a winner gets a huge buff.
Yeah.
And then it's linear after that.
We are technically still scoring off of a 43 car field to show you how long it's been since they've updated.
Yeah. Definitely would be interested in that. Stage points, I'm okay. If they want to add it, fine. But I think that's a little unpredictable too.
Yeah. That's how like NASCAR.com does their stuff. I mean, nah.
if you really want to explode NASCAR as a team sport and get the pit crews more involved, give me like 2 bonus or 3 bonus points for a sub 9.5 second pit stop or something like that. Or winning the race off pit road is worth 3. Like that, we could talk about. I don't think I would want that, but I would understand it. Anyway.
There's only so many different ways you could shake this up.
Yeah, but I do think it's time for a shakeup. We'll get into practice. So we'll get into practice here in a second. I want to do a historical. I know we're getting off track today. If it's your first time joining us, we'll do a historical review. I'll go into the practice times. Then we'll do a driver by driver. We'll talk about every driver in the field. We'll look at the betting odds. We'll do a few lineups. We'll let the simulator on Fast Lap run. We'll get you out of here. Luckily, it's a late start, so we've got some time to settle in. But we talked about this all weekend with the other series. Very top heavy in the other series. Here, it's pretty random in terms of distribution of optimal. Like starting up front, not necessarily a benefit. It's pretty linear down to even 25th. It's pretty linear across the board. Like there's no real spot that's going to be like, okay, that's a good starting spot from a DFS perspective.
Yeah, if this was a race we went to twice a year, we'd have 8 data points per position. Then I'd start really looking at it. Only 4. It's still going to be a bit biased. Like a lot of this is Larson. I think he started 4th twice and had really good runs. So kind of is what it is there. But yeah, it's interesting that either like when you qualify, put yourself up front, you tend to be pretty fast here. Plus you get the free lead laps off the pole, which do help. But yeah, past that, there's like a giant chasm of scoring until you get to the place differential. And it's pretty clear. Like if you start the very, very back because you're slow, not going to do that great. If you start in the rear and you're a fine team, like you just aren't Cody Ware, you're going to score well.
Yeah. And it's another part that makes Texas right now such a frustrating DFS spot is we don't have a ton of data. We can only use the next gen races, which there's only been 4. And all 4 of those races have been so noisy from a data perspective that it's not like we can glean much useful data.
Yeah, I mean, and 2022 race shouldn't even I should just not have even included that. But I mean, the other races aren't that much better either.
Yeah. 2 things I want to point out here, which I think are important. A mid driver, so a 60 to 90 season long driver rating starting 30th or 29th and back is a good play. Usually those plays are kind of mid. It's a good play at Texas. We see those kind of drivers start or perform very, very well. And I would also say guys with sub 60 season long average, besides maybe Cody Ware's, but your Gregsons, your Riley Herbsts, if they're starting 20th to 30th, they're not necessarily a full fade.
Yeah.
Because they can, whether it's through attrition or a lack of passing, they have scored pretty well. So these mid-range guys that if they were starting in an undesirable traditional DFS spot that you would usually ignore, they're much more viable here today. And ultimately, we're looking for 45, if not 50 point minimum to hit the optimal. So you want to road to 50 points for all of your plays.
I think that 45 was Ty Dillon, who you just needed mathematically to fit in everyone up top.
Yeah. Okay. We wanted to talk about practice. Let's head over to fastlap.io. Hit the practice analyzer. This is behind, a lot of the stuff is behind an account wall on FastLap now. You just need to put your email in. It'll send you a link and it'll give you access to everything on the website. Nothing is paywalled. It's just behind account walls. So if you're abusing and running the simulator over and over and over again, I can ban your account. You don't drain my AWS budget. That might not be for now, but for now, while the site is in beta, that's what we'll go with. Okay, let's go. You don't need to scrub off too many laps at Texas, like you said yesterday, Taco, but with the new tire type, I am interested to see if there was any fall off. So I was scrubbing off 14 laps in practice. So we want to get rid of everybody's first 14 laps in practice. That gets us 27 driver. That's a pretty good sample size. And I want their best 10 laps run after 14 laps. So get a good idea of that mid to late run speed. Ty Gibbs actually ranked first by that metric, and he was ranked first in my practice ranks in the sim. But you look at these times, he's on a 3.89. All the way down to 10th is only a 6.62. That's only 0.3. So this whole field is very, very clumped together. And if you took Christopher Bell and put him in the lead ahead of Ty Gibbs, Christopher Bell is going to be the fastest car on the racetrack. So,
Hey,
yeah, it is helpful to visualize these though. And I want to use Ty Gibbs just to look. And you look here, you're looking for any tire fall off. Lap 17, 29.3. Lap 18, 29.3, 29.3, 29.5, and then back to 29. Just no fall off whatsoever.
How do you feel about the group differences?
I don't mind it too much. I think by the time we scrub off those first 14 laps, I felt like it evened out pretty well anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the 14 laps accounts for it. There might be a subtle difference, but not enough to make any decisions on. Also, Tyler Reddick was second fastest by this metric, almost the exact same pace as Ty Gibbs. No surprise there. We'll look at Denny Hamlin. His pace was similar, if not a little bit off of what those top two guys were doing. That's probably not a huge concern. That's probably more Hamlin figuring things out.
His Hamlin in practice. I mean,
yeah.
How hot was the surface in practice yesterday? It was like 11:30 their time, and
yeah, it was.
It's gonna be hot. It's gonna be in the 80s.
It'll be much warmer today than it was yesterday. So something to consider for sure.
Plus points to Bell.
Yeah, I also want to look at Larson. Hard to make any sense of what he was doing in practice, but the fact that they had these stretch of similar lap times makes me think their speed is pretty similar. Briscoe is right here. Who knows what Briscoe's up to? He is all over. I love consistency in practice times, and when guys are up and down like this, it really makes me nervous. But overall, his speed was not far off what these top guys were doing. It just wasn't inconsistent. Denny had 2 bad laps that skewed his averages. This should scrub those out. Like there's a baseline that'll scrub out bad laps. And this only takes your best 10 laps. So as long as those 2 outlier laps weren't in his best 10 laps, it won't get counted. So Denny Hamlin actually the fact that Denny Hamlin was 6th in this ranking in practice is actually pretty positive, because he's usually 30th or 20th in practice because he's practicing for feel rather than speed. Looks like Briscoe was searching. Yeah, definitely was looking to find some speed. The concern is there's not a whole lot of searching you can do at Texas, especially in practice, because the high line's not going to come in, right? So this could also just be a case of him being behind a car. So if there was a slower car that he couldn't get around in front of him, he was backing off and then running a hop lap and then backing off and then running a hop lap. That's why I don't like to look at practice as a true tell-all. Other one I wanted to point out was Buescher. Pretty similar. I mean, maybe his fall off was a little quicker than the Toyotas, but not enough to make any decisions. So really liked Buescher's time. And then Chase Elliott and William Byron were both really close too. I think no surprise here, but the consistency of Chase Elliott, which is kind of his calling card at this point, was really noticeable. Just ran the same lap times over and over and over again.
Yeah, looks like they're a little bit more competitive. I think last year we saw JGR struggle significantly at this track. So Toyota had the advantage all year long. This may be, at least for an intermediate, a track where that advantage isn't going to be as notable.
You can also sort by average consecutive if you don't want to, if you want to get an idea of how they were consistently. This will just take the best 10 laps after 14 in general. If you only want to focus on consecutive laps, which is good at some racetracks, but at a track like Texas where a car in front of you can affect your time so much, it's less reliable. But Tyler Reddick had a really good run of 10 or 15 laps here. Chase Elliott, we talked about his consistency, and Denny Hamlin bumps up to 5th in that metric. You can see this run here. That was really solid. And Ryan Blaney, I don't think the Penske's were pretty good here last year, at least in spurts, but it was Barry and Cindric that were so good. Blaney has been good here in the Gen 6, hasn't really performed in the Gen 7, but did have a little bit of consistency.
I feel like there should be less cars if you're cutting out 14 and going 10 consecutive, because barely anyone took actual runs that were longer than 24 laps.
Yeah. If we bump this down to like just scrubbing off 5 laps, you'll get the whole field. And Chase Elliott had the best run of 10 laps, and then Reddick, and then Buescher. And that's when Briscoe shows up. He had some clean laps in a row early in practice that helped him out. So I think Briscoe's got plenty of speed. And Josh Berry and Cindric both popping again, and they were very fast here last year.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to look at. Sorry, go ahead, Tom.
No, I was just saying it's very rare. Outside, like Reddick last year is probably the only example where like long run speed even like really matters once you get locked into a green flag run here.
100%, and that's really like if you just take this best 10, even best 5 laps in general in practice, Byron was the fastest with a 28.8, and you can go all the way down to almost the whole field. Like Kyle Busch is a 29.2. That's 0.3 or 0.4 the whole field's covered in.
Oh my God! And the sleeper of the entire slate is in third. We'll get to him.
Couple more metrics I want to look at. First, we'll look at Texas stats on Fast Lap. This looks at drivers' performance above their career average at this track. So Kyle Larson actually gains 20 track rating at Texas versus his career average. Now, granted, this is from 3 data points because I don't use 2022 on Fast Lap because that was a weird year. It was the first year of the next gen. And we have had
worst race of all time here.
We've had 3 very noisy races. So I wouldn't put too much stock into this, but this will give you an idea of which guys have been overperforming at Texas. Eric Jones has been very good here. Michael McDowell and Carson Hocevar have also been very good here. Some guys that have underperformed. Hamlin, no surprise there. He's run very well here. He just hasn't finished very well here. Joey's struggled here. Blaney has struggled here, and Christopher Bell has struggled here too. But again, these are...
It's crazy for Blaney because long term, this is one of his absolute best tracks.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just 3 very, very, very noisy sample sizes. Mm-hmm. Last thing I want to look at before we get into the driver by driver is the power rankings. So this takes 6 or 7 predictive measures that we use when it comes to predicting speed. So average running position at Texas, average running position at intermediates, average running position on these individual tires and this tire combination, domination at Texas, and then pit crew and practice ranking. And it weights them all and gives them a composite ranking. Kyle Larson ranks 1, Tyler Reddick ranks 2nd. Denny Hamlin is 3rd. The one that I'm most excited about is this is the first time all season we've had a top 5 Chris Buescher. So maybe Chris Buescher is an interesting play today.
These are your top guys most likely to wreck.
Yeah, exactly. You can also click on any of these guys and it'll open up and give you a little more information. You can see their intermediate trends, their performance on this track specifically. I think the one that's the most eye-popping is if you click on Kyle Larson, look at his domination the last 3 races at Texas. Mm-hmm. Only hit the optimal in one of these races, but has been uber dominant in every single one. Cash Money, can you break down Connor Zilic? Practice speed 10. Oh, after. Yeah, sure. We'll do that really quick. So we'll do after 10 laps. And if you want to do this yourself, you can go over to fastlap.io and click the practice tab. You just need an account. You can play with this tool all you want. But let's compare him to Ty Gibbs as kind of our example. And, this is probably the best practice we've seen out of Connor Zilic. He's a few tenths off what Ty Gibbs was doing, but very consistent. 2 tenths off, 3 tenths off across the entire run. But if he gets put in 10th place, then that's good enough speed to hold 10th place. So this is the most promising Saturday I think we've seen Connor Zilic have.
Yeah, it's just a bummer about his starting position. Yeah.
Okay. With all that in mind, let's head over to the research station available at dfsarmy.com. If you're not signed up, you should get signed up. dfsarmy.com/NASCAR. The link for that is in the bio. Gets you access to all the tools we're using here today. The optimization station where you can bang out 600 lineups in 30 seconds or less, as well as the Discord where we talk about this stuff 24/7. And there's much more intelligent people in that Discord than myself. Very helpful in your DFS journey. dfsarmy.com/NASCAR. Also, fastlap.io. We added a ton of tools today. We've already used a couple of them. The simulator's also in open beta today. If you want to try out the simulator, This is really, really, really beta. Don't make any decisions based off what this tells you today, because not only is the simulator in beta, but the Texas data is terrible. So, this is very much just a work in progress. There's also a head-to-head tool and lots of other cool things over at fastlap.io. You just need to sign up for an account. You'll get a link in your email that'll give you access to every tool we have on there, all for free until we get the bugs worked out. pfsarmy.com/NASCAR, fastlap.io. Denny Hamlin starts P4, and Texas has been a nightmare for him the last couple years, but he is always very fast here. He just can't seem to finish. He blew up here in the first stage last year. If you listen to his podcast this week, he was very confident that he was going to come out and be a contender this week. Starting fourth at 11,000, how are you treating Denny Hamlin?
Has he ever not sounded confident like he's going to be a contender this weekend?
Well, especially at intermediates.
Yeah.
He feels like he should win.
Well, he absolutely has been. At Kansas and Las Vegas, he had the best cars there. Now, I wish we could have seen what kind of speed we had here, but JGR struggled mightily last year. Hamlin literally on fire in stage one. So, again, not really not the week to use track history. I pretty much scrapped this. So, really looking at it, you've got the books are kind of like settling in on Reddick 1, Hamlin 2, Larson 3 of these big three, with Byron and Hocevar being like the A-tier guys. These would be your S-tier guys. Most expensive. So are you just going to jam a bunch of these guys in like we've seen before? Usually only one of these guys survives. So kind of pick your poison here. You almost got to talk about this group as a monolith. I think Reddick's going to come in the highest owned, right? Hamlin does not have the favorable starting position and price compared to Larson, but I think he does have the upside of just generally being the best intermediate track driver this season, and Larson only being held down by Hendrick's overall late race struggles with their new aero setup. But now 11K, the guy starting top five, just really taking guys starting up front at a race where a ton of the field is going to go down in carnage is scary. I would not have him as a flag plant under any circumstances, but he's someone that you're just going to have in the mix if you're multi-entering for sure. Just not really where I'm planting my flag here. Yeah,
really hard to judge Denny Hamlin at Texas because we haven't had a bunch of, any example of a clean race from him except 2023, where I think he finished fifth. And in that race, he wasn't dominant. He had 20 fast laps. But he never really got the lead. He kind of just ran in the top five. And very rarely do we see a situation where Hamlin runs in the top five and never really gains the lead. So maybe speaks to his upside at a place like Texas. The one thing I would say about Hamlin, well, he only ranks, I think 10th or 9th in pit crew average. Just the eye test. This is a really clutch pit crew. We see him coming off first on pit road late in races a lot, I feel like. And I don't have data to back that up. I feel like I've just seen it. Mm-hmm. And with this race probably going to be won or lost on pit road, the clutch gene of this number 11 crew could come into play. But again, we just don't have enough data when it comes to Denny Hamlin at Texas. I think he'll be fine today. He's going to go off as the favorite at a couple sports books as well. He thinks he's going to win. But yeah, just not a guy I'm going to plant a flag on. Just match the field or be a little bit under and find my my leverage elsewhere.
I assume you're planting the flag on Reddick here?
Reddick would be the one I'm the most excited about, and it's for a couple reasons. He was the only one we saw pass last year. We already talked about it, but after this first caution, he restarted 14th and would have won this stage if the caution didn't come out. He was fighting with Austin Cindric right here when the caution came up for Denny Hamlin blowing up, but he was significantly faster than the whole field on that last run. And in the last two races here, he's had the most fast laps, I believe, or close. Larson had a little more in 24. He had 40, and then last year he had 36, which was 12 more than second place. So Reddick has been really fast here for a while, and obviously he's running better than ever. The 2311 cars are better than ever. The issue with Reddick is this pit crew ranks 16th. This pit crew does not have the clutch gene, and that's what really held him back last year. So after stage one, he came out third. despite going in second. And then after this pit stop, he came out second and never really recovered, then had a bad pit stop, came out fifth. His pit crews let him down over and over again, and I'm a little worried that's going to hold him back. But if he can keep it clean, we know he's going to get fast laps. He'll probably lead some laps at some point. Starting 8th, I think he's who I make the favorite to win this race.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just the ownership. I think he's certainly going to be the highest owned of these three, especially at the 5 wins on the season. And I don't know, I think this week I'm just going to just go for raw ownership for a lot of these decisions. Like if the finish is going to be kind of innately random, it just kind of makes sense to pivot here.
Yeah. It's just so against my nature to focus on randomness. I want to find out who's going to win.
Yeah. I mean, the next whole month and a half, we can do that all day. It's just Texas. You got to put yourself in a Texas mindset, which involves probably raw dogging some ketamine or something.
Can I put my win pick in for next week now? Actually, I do think Connor Zilic might have something to say, but
maybe.
And Reddick. I mean, SVG wasn't that good at COTA. I mean, he was good, but not better than Reddick. Anyway, Kyle Larson starts 11th. He's been the premier dominator at Texas over the course of the last couple of years, but Texas hasn't had a win here, and only hit the optimal one of those times, I think. But he's had significant domination in every single race. Concern with Kyle Larson isn't the pit crew, or it isn't his raw speed or ability. It's just we've seen it time and time again with multiple Hendrick cars. Is they launch fine, they're good mid-race, but late race when adjustments start to matter, it just seems like this new Chevrolet Aero situation has been harder to adjust on, and late in races they're just not as competitive. I mean, the biggest example of that was Kansas, when Reddick just drove around him. You could just see how much faster the Toyotas were than Larson at the end of that race. I'm just worried about his long run speed, but everything else points to Larson here. Track history, pit crew, ability, all that stuff.
I would say at this race, at least, it does seem like the Toyota notebook is nerfed compared to Las Vegas, even Darlington, Kansas, that we've gone to, where we've seen Toyota be really, really good. They clearly had an advantage. I think that's just that's limited here, just with how much they've struggled here over the last few years. Yeah. And everyone struggled here over the last few years. But Larson, I just like how he starts 11th. Probably going to be on the lower side of ownership, at least lower than Reddick of these favorites here. Just going off of I think ADP is coming off 3rd. So I would hope that he comes in the lowest owned here. I mean, I do have the concerns, ultimately with him not being the fastest late in races, but we've seen it time and time again. It kind of just comes down to who survives these.
Yeah.
So again, just ownership and just having that little bit of place differential floor to work with is fine.
And Texas, if you are a little off on speed towards the end, the lead helps with that a lot. And we saw, I mean, it's so much more difficult to aero block in the O'Reilly car than it is the next gen car. And we saw how effortlessly Kyle Larson was able to keep Allgaier behind him yesterday at Texas. Much easier to aero block and defend, especially from the lead at Texas. So even if he is down a little bit on speed, if Kyle Larson gets control of this race, it might be wraps. Because he's probably good enough to keep it on pit road and probably good enough to keep it on track as well.
Yeah. And then the first of many literal free plays on the slate, I think you just say fuck it and launch these guys starting in the back. We've seen it time and time again. Place differential with good cars here just works out.
Yeah, and Blaney used to be really, really great at Texas. Next gen has kind of nerfed him.
Finish. Yeah.
The next gen's nerfed him a little bit, and he's been pretty mediocre on intermediates as a whole as of late. He hasn't had a run that would hit the optimal here since Nashville last year, and that's not a corollary track at all. You got to really go back to Kansas almost 12 months ago. But in theory, this is just a great play. He starts 31st. He should be fine here.
Yeah, and a lot of those 38s in the track history or the track type history, he had the best car. That was kind of the story of him last year.
For sure.
Right? It's just, again, pretty good race manager here. Just seems like a really free floor play. Obviously you're starting your cash games here, of course. Penske, I guess, is I would say that the Penske disadvantage that we've seen all year at the intermediate so far is definitely lessened here. We saw a Penske affiliate team dominate this race. Even saw Cindric get up there, so not super worried about that from him. I just don't see how you could go wrong with Blaney here. If he wrecks, he would wreck about as much as anyone else here.
K-Smooth, I'm going to give you some inside insight. I love a little inside insight. Be careful backing Austin Dillon. I know the public will be all over him. He does start 38, so he will be a popular play. But how far up will he go, and will he finish? Interesting. We'll get to Austin Dillon here in a sec. We'll also get to Eric Jones here in just 2 seconds. First, I want to talk about Christopher Bell, who seems like a bit, we have these times when the chat is kind of feeling a play that's a little on a pivot or a little off the beaten path. And Christopher Bell seems to be filling that role this week. He starts 7th. Fine across all metrics. Texas hasn't been a great track for him, but it hasn't been a bad track by any means. Obviously, he's got a massive pit crew advantage. Him and Ty Gibbs are the best pit crews by about 1/10 of a second on average. If Christopher Bell gets the lead, and we saw this at Kansas, it's similar to Larson. How are you going to get he's not going to lose on pit road. How are you going to get around Christopher Bell if he finds the lead at some point?
This is it. This is the ownership pivot right here. He could have won Kansas easily if he didn't break that toe link. He had speed, real speed. Doesn't have good track history here. Compared to all other intermediate tracks, this is the track where I say I don't give a shit if you have good history here or not. Everyone goes back and forth between winning and coming 38th. It doesn't matter. Super low ownership. That is incredibly enticing for me. I think I'm just gonna play a fuck ton of Bell and just get mad leverage and just pray he survives. Typically a survivor too. If you look at the number of laps guys have completed in the last 11 1.5 mile tracks, he's up there at the very top of just surviving and staying out there. I love this play.
Yeah, and his crew chief Adam Stevens not shy to go with 2 tires. We've seen Christopher Bell have success with 2 tires. He's able to manage that very well. So again, if he finds the lead, that's 40 Dominator points. And again, how are you going to get he's the best pit crew. You're counting on his pit crew to make a mistake if he can get the lead. Very hard to knock off the point. So very interesting play.
Yep.
William Byron has had a bit of an off year, which is unique. Usually we see William Byron fire out the gate and have an amazing first couple months of the season, then cool off over the course of the summer. He's just been really quiet, whether that's an off year for him or a result of the Chevrolet Aero situation they have going on. Hard to say, but he did look really good in practice. Texas has been a really strong racetrack for him. Any other year, you're circling William Byron as a $10,500 play. You get him here at 9,700 starting 17th, and his ownership probably won't be much higher than 20%. And in a similar way with Christopher Bell, where it's kind of just about finding leverage at a track where things have gotten so noisy towards the end of these races, William Byron becomes a pretty interesting play, and maybe even without all the noise has some upside.
Yeah, I mean, if you ask people who's had the most disappointing season, I think the first answer is maybe Ross Chastain, and then it's William Byron. So I think the public are generally going to be down on him, but I think we're going to see signs of life here. I don't care that he has the best track history here. That doesn't matter to me at all. Yeah. What I care about is just the fact that the books do seem to be on him as a clear 4th favorite, which is a change from the last several races that we've had with him. And
concern,
yeah.
Again, pit crew has been very, very underwhelming. Their average pit stop has been in the 10 seconds at pretty much every race this year. Yeah. We haven't really noticed it because he hasn't been running up front, but this pit crew has not been great. Ranks 23rd, and that can be very punishing at Texas. Chase Elliott starts 14th. No pit crew concerns with him. His pit crew ranks 4th, I believe. And Texas has been a great track. One of the few drivers that has consistently kind of evaded the chaos at the end of these races, even picked up a win back in 2024, a classic Chase Elliott win where he didn't lead a single lap and then wins the race.
Yep, he remains Denny Hamlin's father, no matter where we're at.
This is a good play. I like this play. He looked good in practice. We know he's good at Texas. He's been great on intermediates, and his pit crew's lights out. You're going to get Chase Elliott starting 14th at 20%, Dominator upside across the board at a noisy race. Again, your whole strategy is just finding leverage in interesting places. Bell, Byron, Elliott, they all check that box. I like Chase Elliott here.
All right, name me a driver who avoids DNFs better than Chase Elliott.
Can't do it.
Can't do it.
Dylan?
The safest driver in the field at a carnage track with some place differential to work with and a price that's not crazy. I kind of like him for the same reason I like Byron. Just seems a little bit on the safer side. Obviously, the books much prefer Byron here, but I think Elliott's the same play.
Yeah. And listen, this is just a race that Chase Elliott wins.
Mm-hmm. He's going to get a stupid ass race. Why not get a stupid ass winner? Every Chase Elliott win is, since he was like a good road course racer, like every Chase Elliott win has been a stupid ass win.
I would love for Chase Elliott to go out and dominate and win this race, though. That would be a return to form. Mm-hmm. But alas, we haven't seen him do that in some time, but still a really strong play. Want to catch up on sorry, go ahead.
We saw it at Martinsville.
Yeah. Did he win that race, though? Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Did he? He wasn't the fastest, though.
No, absolutely not. That's not how he wins races.
I want a race where Chase Elliott is the fastest car and he wins it.
Man,
that's what I want.
That's not his style, bro.
Yeah, I guess not. Okay, couple comments. Reddick and John Hunter, Brad Kozlowski and Buescher. A lot of context to that question that I'm not able to calculate in my head right off the bat, but I would say Reddick with the Dominator upside is probably your best option there. I'm not sure.
We're going to get to the value plays, I promise.
Is this tire wear fall off track or tires don't mean much here? Historically, tires won't mean anything here. Like I said, we do have that new tire combination that we've been using at Texas and Kansas and Las Vegas that has been a little more tire fall off than usual, but it doesn't appear like it's going to be enough to make much of a difference. If we look at practice times, let me find Ty. He was running 29.2s on lap 3 and 29.3s on lap 22. Now there's some tire cooling and stuff going on there, so it's not that bad, but I don't think tire fall off is going to matter too much.
Yeah, it's a year older, but the surface is still pretty new compared to I think every intermediate track.
Yeah, I think it was repaved in 2017, and the Texas seasons aren't as brutal as some of the other Eastern tracks. So.
Yep.
Joey Logano starts 23rd. He won this race last year somehow, some way. I think he ran 15th all day.
He won despite literally starting the big wreck like Carson Hocevar style. It wasn't his fault, but he rammed into Bubba to start the big one. Like he was that close to having a 30th instead of a win. So that was a Texas ass win.
If you start the wreck, you're not in the wreck. And Joey Logano loves starting wrecks. He starts 23rd. Yeah, this is another fine play. Like I said, the place differential, Joey Logano hasn't been great this season. I would say if Chastain's first, Byron second, Joey might be third. But this is a good play. He won this race last year. He's good at Texas. Penske has had a lot of speed at Texas. We saw Cindric and Byron even dominate this race at times last year. I don't mind this race. And Joey Logano's pit crew has actually been pretty good. I mean, the Penske pit crews have been a point of contention for many, many years now, but Joey's ranked 11th. That's good enough, I think. Even if we're just chasing a top kind of 7 out of Joey here, or a top 5, a top 11 pit crew is good enough. So I think Joey's another one of these plays that are just fine. And you can kind of see it. Like all these plays are just kind of 15 to 20%. Pick a couple of these guys and get some leverage on them. I think that's the right way to approach this.
I hate Joey Logano here. He's looked very bad at the intermediate tracks. Like Darlington, of course, like that was whatever. But even Kansas, like
Kansas was
zero speed in that car, and we're not seeing it from practice or anything. The books he's fallen like a rock in the books, despite being the defending race winner. Is 35-1. Like I see nothing with this play, even with the place differential. Like call him a carnage play or whatever, I guess. I just don't see it here. He's been dog shit at the intermediates.
Yeah, it's been a tough year for him for sure. Chase Briscoe starts 5th. He's been super, super solid on the intermediates. I will say, towards the end of last year, pretty consistently, we saw Chase Briscoe have top 3 lap times throughout the course of a race. Kansas and Las Vegas, he got good finishes, but he was never really a top 5 car in either of those races. He starts 5th here. I think that's about where he'll run all day. But we haven't seen any evidence of Dominator upside from Chase Briscoe. And while his pit crew has improved a ton, they now rank 7th. They had a really rough start to the year. It's been the last couple weeks they've really started to pull it together. So his pit crew is fine. If he gets the lead, he can certainly keep it. But he's kind of been just kind of the 3rd or 4th best Gibbs car this year. And Gibbs, we know, hasn't been great at Texas over the course of the last couple of years.
Yeah, he almost feels like a Christopher Bell light play on this slate.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going Bell. If you want to just take the stand to a low-owned Briscoe, I mean, sure. I mean, the finishes have been there. Yeah, we haven't seen him like go out there and lead the laps, and this is also just it's a weird track for him. He was on pace to get another top 10. He would have the best track history here if it wasn't for the wreck at the end of the race. So I don't know. He's fine. This is like a pivot single entry sort of play. I'm just doing Bell instead.
Ty Gibbs is a play I like a lot here. I don't think I was that bullish on him in my notes, but the more I look at this play, the more I like the leverage upside. He starts 10th, second best pit crew in the series, almost as good as Bell, and in a couple instances, even a little better than Christopher Bell. Looked really good in practice, was right there with Tyler Reddick as among the fastest cars over the course of the entire session. He's been so amazing this year. Top 10 just about everywhere except the plate races, the super speedway races, and had some moments at Texas, even back when he wasn't running that well. Another guy that if Ty Gibbs gets the lead somehow, some way, going to be very hard to deal with, and another guy that can excel on 2 tires and no tire situations. I really like Ty Gibbs. I think there's Dominator upside here. Yeah,
I mean, what a turnaround. 2 straight top 10s at pure 1.5 miles when he had 0 top 20s last year at the pure 1.5 miles. He's really come into his own here. A pretty unique play. I like, again, another guy in this range that's just a good ownership sort of pivot play, and he's not that expensive either.
Yeah, and even if a guy like Ty Gibbs, like if it is hard locked and guys can't pass really, though we've seen evidence that maybe Ty Gibbs would be one of the cars that could pass because his speed looks similar to Tyler Reddick's. But if not, even if he starts 10th, run 10th in the first stage, gains a couple of spots on pit roads because he's got an elite pit crew, does that 3 times, all of a sudden he's in the top 5. So
yeah,
it feels like this is a pretty high ceiling type of play.
Just still inherently a top 10 starting guy at a Carnage track, so that's going to lower his like overall
absolutely leverage spot for sure.
Yeah.
Hocevar, we've already talked a lot, kind of the key to this slate in a lot of ways, but one of the noisiest, kind of most unpredictable pole sitters we've had in some time. We know he's probably going to lead laps to start this race. The question becomes, how long does that first stage run until they get to the first pit stop? Can his pit crew hold the lead on pit road? And if they can, doesn't matter because will guys take no tires or 2 tires and leapfrog and jumble up the running order anyway? And then the question is how well can he hold? I'm not too worried about I think he runs top 10 today, no matter what. I think he can run. I think he can win this race. Honestly, his pit crew is good. We talked about that. His pit crew ranks inside the top 10. He's got the 8th best pit crew. So I'm not worried about his pit crew. It's just everything else that comes with Texas, the 2 tire stops, the pit road battles, all that different stuff. Just a really, I mean, it's all questions we don't have answers to, but it's Carson Hocevar is really the big question we don't have answers to. It's all about that first stage for him.
Yeah, he's inherently a super dangerous play as, you know, a guy who we saw DNF pretty much every intermediate race last year, starting on the pole. So if anyone's going to put up negative 35, it's your boy Hocevar. But again, we've seen it over and over. The Hocevar conundrum, the higher carnage of races, the safer he drives. Yeah. How much more evidence we need of this? So oddly enough, not really that like super scared of a play outside the fact he is starting on the pole, and starting on the pole here is terrifying.
Yeah.
Especially if they, like, you just think about it, like they could go 2 turns before a caution here, and then who knows what's going to happen, right? Like we've seen that happen time and time again here. If he gets out to a clean restart somehow and they run some green flag laps, he's going to be in a great spot. It's just he has an absolute glass floor. But he also has a pretty decent ceiling. But I mean, he would need to dominate quite a bit at his price. Like he's not like 6-7K Hocevar anymore.
Yeah.
That's on FanDuel.
Was the pole sitter here last year, led 22 laps before that first caution, and then the field gets jumbled up through 2 tires and different things. The year before, when did the first caution come? Lap 35. Another instance where the leader pitted on lap 35 and came out 13th again. 2 tire stops, people staying out, jumbles up the field. The year before that, in 23, the first caution came at lap 37. The leader at that time was Bubba Wallace, who came out 11th and then pitted on the next cycle and held the lead and then went on to dominate that race. So it's really just a matter of when that first caution comes out, because the leader at the start of that caution is probably not going to be the leader at the end. It's probably going to be some two-tire nonsense. So how long does this race stay green is really the question.
Yeah, it depends on his ownership too. Like, he's getting a pretty hefty pick six prop for lead laps. I think we're gonna take the under on, like, was it like 61.5 or something?
Yeah, it's pretty high.
Yeah, so and I'm seeing him getting like drafted and stuff. Like, I think he's going to have significant ownership, and I think I definitely want to be underweight on him.
He is the belle of the ball right now.
Yeah,
and he won the truck race too, in a truck that probably didn't have any business winning the truck race.
Big Oro win.
Bubba Wallace starts 37th. This is just a place differential play. We've seen Bubba Wallace dominate at Texas. Texas is a great racetrack for him. Intermediates are great for Bubba Wallace. Even with as difficult it is to pass, we know how much better the 2311 cars are this year. I think he pushes forward pretty easy here.
Yeah, I was reviewing the Wallace wreck from last year. The car ahead of him was hitting the brakes pretty hard. Like, he also hit the wall. So, well, not a great look still. Just shit kind of happens. Like, Bubba Wallace starting 37th. We've seen really good cars starting in the back here put up numbers at Texas. So all these guys starting in the back of the Carnage race, I'm just thumbs upping. Don't care if they talk.
Chris Buescher, this is a really interesting one because for the first time all year, he checks just about every box we look at. He starts third. Boy, I wish he was starting a little further back. But even starting third's not the worst thing in the world. We go over to the power rankings and look at Chris Buescher, fourth at Texas in terms of average running position, top 10 on intermediates, really good on this tire type. Really good top 5 pit crew, top 5 in practice. He checks every box. It's just he's starting third and needs to probably lead at some point. And, you know, we haven't seen, at least recently, many instances of Chris Buescher dominating races.
What we have seen is RFK as a whole finishing races. They are farming points.
Yeah.
They go out of their way to be extremely safe. And we've seen them even like Darlington, for example, be able to go out there and lead and be probably the second best team behind like the Toyotas. So we're almost getting to the point where RFK is better than Penske outside of select tracks. I think it's just been the case this
besides
season.
Ryan Blaney, obviously, but
yeah.
And 24 fast laps at Texas last year and never really led in that race. He had the second most fast laps of anyone. So he had a lot of pace last year. He ran in the top 5 until he found trouble towards the end of that race. You know, and look at his odds. I mean, he's priced up this week versus I've lost him now, but you know, plus 1200 is higher than we ever see Buescher. So the books like him too. This isn't a fade by any means.
Yeah, fade for me just because he's starting top. You know, like he's starting third, which sucks. Like, I would be on him if it wasn't for that. I'll take his teammate instead all day. But
again, if he starts third, runs third, and finds 30 fast laps again, he's getting pretty close. So
yeah, it's just the guys starting up front who aren't like big dominators just have not done well at all.
Yeah, there's also some noise that you need to consider. Keselowski starts 25th. He'll be a popular play. He's somebody I'm targeting on the sports books more than anything, but Texas has been a really great racetrack for him. Again, track history is a noisy metric, but he's just been so consistent. And the problem with Brad Keselowski is he qualifies 25th. He runs 25th for the first 2 stages, and then he turns into Superman in stage 3, and he's 0.3 faster than the field and drives into the top 10.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating. It caps his upside, but he's done it, 10 races in a row on intermediates? Like, he's just a really solid play, and I think he's a good play here too.
He's been legit good. RFK, again, just farming finishes here. It's wonderful. I mean, look at his average early running position at 22nd. Like, it's horrible, but it works for him. Carnage races usually involve a lot of pit strategy, and they've got to be like a top 3 team in pit strategy in the series.
Yeah, pit strategy. Pit crew, on the other hand, is a different story. He's got a pretty miserable I can't even find him right now. Brad, where are you? Yeah, 31st in terms of pit crew ranking, which maybe is why he needs stage 3s tend to run green. And when pit road isn't a factor, he becomes much better. Maybe that's the case.
Yeah.
But yeah, still a fine play. And a guy who you can get at like plus, I think I saw plus 200 at some places for a top 10 today. I mean, look at his performance on.
It's 220 on DraftKings.
Yeah, so maybe an interesting spot. Ross Chastain has finished second here twice in the last 3 years, but this has been a terrible year for him and Trackhouse as a whole. A little better in practice yesterday. Maybe that's a positive sign for Chastain. Usually he's dead last in practice. He was mid-pack in practice, and we know that Chastain can take a mid-pack car and make it a top 10 car. So maybe a little more upside than usual here, but it's really just hard to erase how bad he's been this year from your memory. Starting 16th, you can get some leverage on him, but it's really just a really tough spot.
I think I got to put him in with Logano as like a legitimate wait and see. He's starting 16th, pretty easy to fade that this week because he's still priced up. Like he's priced up quite a bit, so he would need to like go out there and do something. Don't care about the runner-up finishes. You're honestly finishing well last year is kind of a red flag. It means that you really didn't have pace throughout the race and just kind of survived. But I mean, 78. That's a pretty easy fade here.
Kyle Larson to win, parlayed him with the Sixers +9, and Kyle to finish top 3 with the Sixers. Okay, so because Sixers won last night, right? Pretty sure they did. So a Kyle win or a Kyle top 3 is a big payday for our boy Anthony.
Mm-hmm.
Go Larson. Big foot curl, stacking the back or playing people starting further back is a rookie move. I would agree with you in most cases. It's just how noisy these Texas races have been. And, we looked at it earlier. You look at the average running position. Guys that have run in the top 10 in this race just don't finish. It's the guys that, run 17th all day that finish second, or run 18th all day and finish 8th. I agree. I think, place differential and intermediates is generally a bad move, but Texas has just been such a weird racetrack for DFS purposes.
Bro, just, go ahead and fade those guys starting in the back on this slate, and please just send me head-to-heads. I would love that action.
I don't want to head-to-head anyone at Texas. It's too crazy. Where were we? Ryan Preece starts 20th. Preece has been pretty solid on intermediates. Texas hasn't been a great track for him. He was just okay in practice. This is a fine play. Like we said, these kind of 50, if you look at the historical chart, these guys with 60 to 90 season-long average that start in this kind of 17 to 25 range have performed pretty well. So maybe Ryan Preece is a candidate for some leverage today, but I don't know. Just gut feeling says this is kind of just an okay play and doesn't jump off the board.
Yeah, Vegas doesn't like him compared to his teammates at all. He's significantly off, and we've seen all year they've been kind of priced a bit similarly on the books. I think this is a track that Preece has been kind of outward about, like not being like super great about. Again, the bigger and faster a track is outside of a super speedway, typically the worse Preece tends to perform, being a short track guy.
Yeah,
starting 20th makes him fine.
Alex Bowman's a play that I've heard a lot of people mention today. He starts 9th. Texas has been a pretty rough racetrack for him as of late. Whether or not that matters, I'm not sure. He didn't look great in practice, but again, this is a racetrack where you can hold position. So if he starts 9th, hangs there all day, it's certainly not outside the realm of possibility. He's priced way down, and you're getting a Hendrick car at 7,400. He just starts a little too high, but I don't mind getting leverage on a guy that's only going to be 4% owned.
FanDuel play. Look at his finishes at intermediates last year. That's a Jekyll and Hyde season if I've ever seen one.
Yeah.
All
it's either
straight
DNS
or top 10s. Yeah.
Cindric starts 13th. He ran really well here last year, and has run well here in general. If I can find Austin Cindric in the power rankings, he actually ranks 10th. This is Pit Crew. He ranks 10th in Pit Crew, but his power ranking is pretty decent too, if I remember correctly. Yeah, 14th. 60 laps led here with a couple fast laps, and then before it's all top 20 average position. I don't mind this play. I don't think he has the top 10 upside again, but he did look okay in practice, and another guy that could just benefit from the noise towards the end of this race.
Mm-hmm. Didn't run like a ton of practice laps or anything. He was in that Group A, but starting a little bit high for me here. I don't know.
Yeah. Daniel Suarez starts second, and second has been a killer spot at Texas. Like we said earlier, if you go back and watch the last couple of races here, you kind of just got to get single file through 3 and 4. The guy on the outside of the pole sitter can't really run with the guy on the bottom lane and has to fall into third or fourth, or into second or third place, unless they do an okie dokie type of restart, which I think would be kind of difficult to do at Texas. And I don't think Carson Hocevar would agree to do that. No. He's in a really tough spot. I just don't see a super clear path to him hitting the optimal here, though he has run pretty well at Texas. It's just a tough spot starting second.
Spire is really fast at Texas, and he has the best track history. I don't really care about that. It's just, starting second is really, really, really tough and super, super glass floor.
Let me see if we have any. Yeah, nobody starting second has hit the optimal. Again, only 4 data points, so not super useful, but it's been a tough starting spot. Josh Berry starts 24th, another guy that has run pretty well at Texas. I would say that was the best of his intermediate tracks, led some laps and had some fast laps here last year. A lot of that was because of some pit strategy stuff, but still has had some Dominator upside, obviously. But his average running position outside of that has been 20th or worse. And the real concern here is just look at his intermediate performance. It's
over the last year, he's like the worst car for DNFs, just straight up.
He's crashed a lot and crashed the last 2 here at Texas.
But did lead laps and crashed from the lead, like we see a lot at Texas. Fun fact, this 21 car has led significant laps in 3 of the last 4 Texas races. Shout out Harrison Burton.
Yeah. Shout out Harrison Burton. Kyle Busch starts 6th. Me and you have been playing DFS and working together for the better part of a decade now. If I asked you a decade ago, would you ever see Kyle Busch in the 6,000s at Texas?
No, of course not.
You would probably have taken that bet. Like, it's crazy where we've ended up. But this isn't a good play. Like the RCR cars, I don't think it's a Kyle Busch issue. I've said this over and over again. It's an RCR issue. I don't think they can pay off a 6th place starting spot. I mean, he ran well at intermediates towards the end of last year, but the start of this year has been miserable, and he's seemed miserable too.
Yeah, I mean, I have one of my best friends goes to every Texas race, or at least grew up going to every Texas race, and he was just like, yeah, it's just, we go there to drink some beers and watch Kyle Busch lead every race in all 3 series.
Yeah.
6th place, $6,800 and 2% ownership. Like, your goat's washed. I don't know. It's just kind of tough to look at, but
let's get him in the Spire car ASAP.
Yeah.
Corey Heim starts 17th. Corey Heim has been amazing in all of his starts in this 67 car, including on intermediates. 2 starts at Kansas where he's finished inside the top 15, had a lackluster start at Nashville. Looked okay in practice, qualified 17th. We know how good these 2311 cars are. The only concern for me, like we talked about earlier, is just his pit crew. This 3rd, or I guess 4th 2311 pit crew has not been able to put consistent good pit stops together. A 10.6 isn't bad, and if he's going to run 15th all day, he can probably hold 15th, but to break into the top 10 and hold it with a pit crew that's underperforming right now is going to be very difficult.
I mean, he's just more expensive Herbst, right? Because Herbst is a worse driver but better pit crew. Heim, I mean, he looked better in practice, so I guess he has that going for him, but like, I don't know why he's 90-1 and Herbst is 600-1. That really doesn't make much sense to me because they are very similar in upside, I'd say. You saw him run 14th and 15th at Kansas. Like, I don't get the pricing discrepancy there.
Well, I mean, I think we know that Corey Heim is the better overall driver than Herbst, and I think the books are just playing into that.
Yeah.
Austin Dillon starts 38th. He'll be a popular play. Our guy, K Smooth, where'd you go? So he's got some inside info that we got to be careful when it comes to Austin Dillon. I don't know if I can only go off the numbers on the board, and the numbers on the board say Austin Dillon is okay at Texas, and against the 38th place starting spot for $6,500, this seems like a pretty good play.
Yeah, I mean,
he's been better than Kyle Busch on intermediates.
Austin Dillon's done the same thing for like a decade, where it doesn't matter where he's starting or whatever, he's going to fight his damnedest to come in 17th place, which is kind of what you want to see from a guy starting 38th. Like just look at like the laps completed there. Him and like Michael McDowell are in this range, just kind of stick out as guys who are just trying to finish on the lead lap, and they're cool with that at an intermediate track. I mean, Dillon's got Richmond to look forward to, but he will very happily take an 18th.
K Smooth, you can't tease us like that. I don't want to get you in trouble, but can you give us any more info on Austin Dillon's downfall? Listen, I don't know what we're okay. I'm a big Dillon fan, but it's the track he will be fighting for GPP. He's a fade for me. All right. If K Smooth says so, then maybe we got to be a little underweight on Austin Dillon. He seems to know what he's talking about. So
he take it with run like shit, and he's going to pass 10 cars who are just, dead immediately. Like, just kind of how Texas is.
Listen, K Smooth is a loyal viewer. I'm going underweight on Austin Dillon. I gotta believe I'm not playing that much this week anyway. I don't like Texas. So.
Yeah.
Shout out K Smooth. Michael McDowell starts 19th. He's probably been the least impressive of the Spire cars at Texas in the 2 races we've seen him.
Nope, absolutely not. He almost won this race.
Well, yeah, but he was out on no tires, hanging on for dear life.
Hey, but it's just, I think he has one of the best average running positions of anyone in the whole field. You saw him.
Look, we can check this. Fastlap.io, baby. We can check this. Yeah. I mean, 13th. He's run outside top 15 in 2 of them. So yeah, you're probably more right than me.
Yeah, I mean, he's all 4 of the races. Although, I mean, as crazy as they've been, he's been legit. Really, it's just Spire has had speed here.
Yeah.
So I don't know. He's he's got a sleeper play here. Starting 19th, it's kind of real whatever burger, but he's priced up 55 to 1. You never see McDowell 55 to 1.
That's true.
At a track like this. There is speed here. I don't know. And he's just been consistently pretty good at the intermediates, just fine. Just hasn't been finishing them at all whatsoever.
Yeah. So maybe Michael McDowell a better play than I give him credit for here. He's just been kind of mediocre this year. He's been an afterthought compared to what Hocevar and Swartz have been doing.
Yeah, for sure.
Where's this pick?
Interesting one. He would be like an insta fade for me at any other track. It's just here. I don't know. He's kind of got some. He's got some sauce here for whatever reason.
A little juice, eh? I'm playing Austin for sure, especially if this is a wreck fest like the last and all of them. Did Dillon have an engine change? I don't believe so. I would have to double check on that, DC, but I haven't heard. But I haven't checked since we've been on air, obviously. I got AD finishing 20th, but his brother Ty will finish 19th. Shout out Ty Dillon. Eric Jones has been really strong at Texas. He starts 21st. One of his better racetracks. The bigger the track, the better Eric Jones is, and everything's bigger in Texas, as they say. This is a strong play, I think. Eric Jones has finished top 6 at Texas twice in the next gen era, has run inside the top 20 in just about every race, and we saw how good he was on intermediates as a whole last year and how much better legacy has gotten. So Eric Jones is a strong play, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Pretty similar to McDowell here, just really overperforming at this track. I think you showed on the track edge sheet, they're both in the S tier. They just perform significantly better here. And Darlington's the highest correlated track to here. That is his stomping grounds.
Yeah. Austin Dillon did change engines, so there you go. Confirmed. Connor Zilic starts 12th, like we talked about earlier. His Saturday was the best Saturday we've seen Connor Zilic have. And we saw him take to Texas pretty well yesterday in the O'Reilly series in his first Texas start. Mm-hmm. Just starting 12th for what we've seen out of performance from Connor Zilic this year, and whether it's Connor Zilic's fault or Trackhouse' fault or some combination of the two, we just haven't seen any evidence of him being able to pay off a 12th place starting spot. Save him for next week. I think he'll be playable at Midland.
Yeah, sorry, my neighbor's deciding to mow his lawn for the 5th time in the last 2 days. So
I love a neighbor who mows. I love a nice lawn, so I appreciate your neighbor.
Hell yeah.
I believe Zilic is running all 3 Watkins Glen races next week, so we'll have lots of time to play him next week.
Yeah,
we'll also probably have some opportunity to play AJ Allmendinger, who starts 26, and we talked about his penchant for getting fast laps on intermediates as of late, but just doesn't jump off the page at Texas. Hasn't been a great track for him, and he hasn't been great on intermediates as a whole this year. He did have a little run towards the middle of the last season where he was running fairly well, but it seems to have lost that. I think the perspective or the eventual change to Ram has softened his outlook. And colleagues
only thing holding you back from his teammate. Yeah, I mean, kind of a dead duck team is the issue here. So it's hard to know what to make of AJ. Starting far enough back and low enough ownership to take some shots at. But
I would say though, if you're investing in stonks, if you're a stonk investor, I would say Colleague is the team to invest in, because if Ram comes to the Cup Series, they're coming with Ram, and I believe you need to be the A team for a manufacturer to compete for a championship. So you got to be Joe Gibbs, you got to be Hendrick, you got to be Penske, and if Ram is going to come in with Colleague, then you're going to have to be Colleague. So I
feel like it would be Dodge coming in and not Ram, but
sorry, yeah I keep saying Ram because I just got Ram. Dodge, yes, Dodge. If Dodge,
love Rams,
the Ram Cup car would be pretty spectacular.
You just
that show. Listen,
barrel through all
how effective their marketing has been.
Hell yeah. Well, my goat washed here. Horse I feel I don't want to play any Zane Smith. That's how bad he was at Kansas. That wasn't even a DNF. He was just dog shit.
Yeah, Zane Smith looked like a really strong play at Kansas, and he was really, really off the pace, like legitimately 2 laps down on pace alone. This seems like a good theory play, but given how bad he was at Kansas and how off he was in practice, it's a bit of a concern. I want to go and look at how he's performed at Kansas over the last couple years.
He's been good on the pit stops here, right?
Whoops.
Not the last 2 weeks, but
let me go to Texas Power Rankings. How far do I have to scroll to find Zane?
He's up there. He's mid-pack.
There he is, 22nd. Average running position, 22nd, 18th, and 27th. So maybe top 20 upside against it. So maybe if you can remove the Kansas race from your mind and just put that up to an outlier, maybe there's some upside.
I would if the practice wasn't the same.
Yeah, the practice is the concern.
I think he's just a pure carnage play. I think he needs people to die here. I just, evidence of speed. And when he's fast, he usually practices and qualifies well. He barely took any practice laps. Concerning.
Corey Heim versus Dillon. I assume you're talking about Austin Dillon, and you give me an excellent opportunity to show off the new head-to-head tool on fastlap.io. So let's do a head-to-head here.
I mean, it could be Ty Dillon on this race. Actually, we're going to get to him.
This is going to be pretty noisy because we don't have a lot of Corey Heim data for this to pull from. But let me go Corey Heim versus Austin Dillon. If I can find him, I suspect Austin is going to win this, but we'll see. Actually prefers Corey Heim to the tune of, so in a head-to-head across 10,000 simulations, Corey Heim won 60.3% of the time. In the 5, this isn't right. There's something wrong here. Has Corey Heim run that many Cup races? No way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe
he's been pretty good.
You scroll down to the bottom. So the head-to-head, Corey Heim's winning. On average in the sim, Corey Heim's putting up 24.4 points, and Dillon, by virtue of having so much place differential, is putting up 39.4 points. Mm-hmm. No correlation between the two, so one's performance doesn't affect the other. But so I guess Corey Heim has the better head-to-head upside. Austin Dillon has the better DFS side, but very useful tool, the head-to-head tool over at fastlap.io. You can put in 2 drivers. You can also put in market odds. We'll do that a little later. But if you scroll down to the bottom, it gives it DFS head-to-head as well. Dillon is scoring higher from a DFS perspective on average across my simulator anyway. John Hunter Nemechek is a play I like a lot, and I've been punished for saying that many, many times, but I still, for some reason, believe in John Hunter Nemechek. He's finished top 22 in both intermediates this year and finished top 10 at Texas for whatever that's worth here last year. Looked okay in practice at times. He starts 33rd. I think this is a good place differential play.
Yeah, we like our place differential plays, and he actually showed a sign of life unlike Zane Smith here. So, I mean, points to him, plus Legacy, just a faster team here. Noah
Gregson's probably the most frustrating driver on the circuit. You look at any metric and you'll probably find something you like, but as of late, he just has not performed well. He's been really, really slow this year. He would need a bit of a performance upgrade to pay off even a 28th place starting spot.
Yeah, 600 to 1 too. Like Vegas hates front row here, and it kind of makes sense. They all just look kind of bad this week.
Yeah. Ricky Stenhouse Jr.'s had a couple good runs at Texas, but he hasn't run that well. If we go over to Fast Lap, let's go over the power rankings and see if we can find ourselves Ricky Stenhouse.
Oh, yeah,
he ranks 24th.
The fakest top 10s of all time.
Average running position was about 22nd, which is about where he starts. So if you're going to chase the carnage, we've seen 2 data points where he's been able to avoid the carnage and finish in the top 10.
But if it's carnage, you're just taking guys in the deep 30s, not mid-pack.
Yeah. So, yeah, not a great play. Noah can't drive and can't fight. Why is he here? Who was it? Was it really Ross Chastain that polished him off in the O'Reilly series a couple years ago?
Yeah.
Oh, and Daniel Hemrick too, didn't he?
I think so. He was fighting. He was looking like a thumb fighting. He had that stupid-ass haircut.
I think he got pieced up twice.
Yeah.
Once by Ross Chastain and once by funny story at the Martinsville race where Ty Gibbs shipped Brandon Jones. I was on pit road for that race, and I remember standing by Brandon Jones's wrecked race car, and Brandon Jones was outside it looking dejected, and Noah Gregson walked by and said, "You need to go whoop his ass, Brandon." Very funny. I remember in that moment.
Should have.
He didn't. He did leave Joe Gibbs Racing a couple weeks later, though. Todd Gilliland's had a great 2026 against Noah Gragson and Zane Smith, who both have had pretty poor 2026. Todd Gilliland's been running fairly well. Texas has been an okay racetrack for him. And intermediates have been pretty good. I think this is probably one of the better plays in this range. The concern across the board for Front Row Motorsports was their practice was horrible. Yeah. And other than Todd Gilliland, they've both been pretty underwhelming.
I mean, he's been horrible here at Texas. And then last year, he's like, I'm just going to stay out on 0 tires. And then he immediately got a caution after that. And he's like, oh, thank you for bailing me out. Got an 11th place finish.
That's what happened to him at Bristol too, right?
Yeah. Like he does that. He's like Priest Light, where he's just a pure finishing merchant. And he can't keep getting away with it, surely. But starting 32nd, like you're just a raw carnage play. You're going to mix and match all these guys starting in the 30s.
Yeah, average running position top 20 in the last 2 Texas races. So maybe that's some upside for him. Yeah, and that's what's frustrating about DFS NASCAR, especially at a race like these. Like these are all just nameless, faceless data points.
Yeah,
there's no real way to predict
the match here.
It's just mix and match, and maybe Todd Gilliland's a little better than maybe Shane Van Gisbergen, who's really struggled on intermediates this year, which is strange because SVG was starting to figure it out on intermediates towards the last year.
It's just rack spinouts.
Yeah, but it's been a lot of spinouts.
Yeah, a lot, like 2 or 3 per race.
I'll be honest, I don't mind this play because it seems like, at least going off of what Chastain and Zilich did, that maybe Trackhouse is a little better than they've been this week. And we know when Trackhouse is hooked up, SVG can perform in the top 20. It's just you're kind of chasing something we haven't seen very much this year.
I mean, Vegas is with you. Outside of Austin Dillon, he's got by far the best odds of these guys starting in the 30s for cheap.
Riley Herbst will start 18th. That would be an auto fade in all of last year. But as of late, Riley Herbst has been running pretty well. He legitimately ran in the top 15 all day at Kansas. And even towards the end of last year, Las Vegas, Kansas, he ran fairly good. He ran 14th here last year. Again, not worth much, that data point, but he was able to run top 15. 5,200 for what in theory is a top 10 car. Maybe not a top 10 driver, but a top 10 car for sure. Maybe this is a playable spot.
He's starting to get some like actual ownership on him. I think he started off the season being pretty unowned, as he usually would be, but Kansas, he was only 4.7% owned starting 22nd. So I mean, it's still pretty good pivot spot here. I suspect that with how good 23XI ran across the board at Kansas, that he's going to start getting some real ownership here. And there's a carnage race, which if this was any other intermediate track, I would probably like this more, just with how much of a carnage race this is. And I don't know, man. Like maybe you can find some top 15, top 20 odds. Maybe is a little interesting there. I don't know, man. There's just so many good place differential plays you could take instead.
Including Ty Dillon, who probably is the best value play on the slate. Is Ty Dillon just the Brennan Poole of the Cup Series?
Ty Dillon is historically has been the biggest slave to track history of anyone ever. I don't know how he keeps getting away with it here again. These top 20s. Yeah, track history matters here probably less than any track.
Let me see what his average running position at those races were. 23rd, 27th, 23rd. Not bad by Ty Dillon standards.
Yeah.
And starting 35th, this is a very fine play and a guy that just grinds out good finishes at Texas. So
he hangs out. And his ownership's not going to be insane because you don't really need to get that cheap with guys like Austin Dillon existing, with guys like Bubba Wallace existing at just 8,300. Like,
would you dare play Ty Dillon in cash?
Yeah, everyone's going to play Ty Dillon in cash.
There you go. Cole Custer starts 27. That's probably a bit more. Texas is a better track for him, but his average running position last year was outside of the top 25. Probably not much there. And then Cody Ware and Chad Fincham probably. Cody Ware might be on the lead lap, but he hasn't got a good finish on an intermediate.
Yeah, generational run he's on right now.
And Chad Fincham not super playable.
Yeah, Chad Fincham is indeed Chad Fincham. We're not going to see another stretch of domination like we saw from him at Talladega last week when he was putting the throttle down. Everyone else was going like 50% throttle.
let's head over to fastlap.io. Got a big update this week. A lot of tools added. I want to go over to the race simulator. Now, I will say we're in beta right now. So this simulator is not super useful, and it's not super useful at Texas because we don't have enough data. And a lot of the tracks where we don't have enough data, you can use correlated tracks. And Texas doesn't even correlate well with Texas.
Yeah.
So this is a very, very unusual weekend for the simulator, but a good weekend to try to put it in beta for you guys to try it out. Let me know what you think. Give me some feedback if you have any. I think eventually the long-term goal is to have this and the head-to-head tool and some of the power ranking stuff be a useful paid feature, just because it costs a lot of money to run this stuff. I think like $12 a month, but what I will probably do is just for everybody in the stream who's helped so much make FastLap a useful tool, we'll do like a one-time kind of founders deal where you guys will get like season-long access or lifetime access. I'm not sure yet for almost, next to nothing, just for helping me out. But you can use it for free this weekend. You just need to sign up for an account. I want to do 10,000 lineups. Chaos level, we could go maximum, but the historical average is kind of maximum chaos anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to use historical average. I do want to bump tire wear up just a little to account for the new tire. This track position is built in now. This button doesn't do anything, so you can put this wherever you want. It's not going to affect your run at all. I need to remove this. It's going to be hotter today than it's been, but I think from a Texas point of view, it's pretty neutral.
Yeah, it's like 90s here a lot, and it's going to be in the 80s. So
I
it's
think
pretty
that's
standard.
neutral. And then you can go down to drivers. There's a couple different buttons here you can use. So practice ranks is where I've ranked them in practice using like the scrub the first couple laps method. So Tyler Reddick would be second. I think Ty Gibbs would be first. You can also boost or punish drivers who you don't like as much. I'm going to boost Denny Hamlin down a little just because I've run this a couple times and I know it really, really loves Hamlin, and I don't love it as much as Hamlin does, but you might have to run it a couple times to make your own adjustments. I also want to boost Reddick up because I'm pretty bullish on him as a whole. If you want to select your premier dominators, which I wouldn't do at Texas because we can see any number of guys dominate, you just have to click that little crown, and that'll make sure that of all your 10,000 runs, it will use one of your 4 dominators as a primary dominator in that race.
Are those salaries right?
Say it again.
Are those salaries right? What is Reddick's price?
The salaries might not be right. 9,500. Yeah, I'll check it. Is he the only one that's wrong? Bell and Reddick.
This looks like a previous week or something.
Am I tripping? I'll fix this. I will fix this.
Bell's
after.
10 even.
I'll look at this after. Like I said, beta. We're in beta. It might be pulling the wrong. Data set. But the starting positions, I believe, are right. The starting positions are right. Practice are right. So the optimal percentage isn't going to be very useful, but it's using the right track. So we can still run and get win percentages. And it still loves Denny Hamlin just based on how good he's been on this tire type and on intermediate tracks. Mm-hmm. Big on Larson, big on Christopher Bell as well.
Hey.
Where I think this is the most useful, honestly, is the top 10s have been pretty consistent. This will kind of get you a bit of a running one. But yeah, let me fix this after because I think it's pulling the wrong salaries. But the starting position and the practice and all the data is right. So just don't use optimal for right now. I'll fix it as soon as the stream is over. Anyway, let's head over to the domination station and talk about how you're setting it up.
Well, the first thing I'm going to do is, for me, I'm going to crank up Bell because he's not going to project out well anywhere, like anywhere at all whatsoever.
Do you adore him or
particulate? But again, this is just for me. For general advice, I'd say just kind of like roll with it. But again, I think this is a week where you're going to want to go down and seriously change the projections. For an intermediate track, usually the projections are you can be pretty confident in them. They're very unconfident this week. That's why we're cranking up the randomization here. That's why I'd highly recommend going and finding some flag plants and just sending it with them, right? So definitely focus on that this week. You could do the at least one Dominator. I'm doing no rules, just because I mean it's Texas. Like if anything happened to Larson last year, it's just pure play stiff, right? Like we've seen that, and you're gonna get some. Certainly gonna get some Dominators from up top anyway, and even then, like it's kind of whatever. So like maybe like 17-18% randomization. Like we're really cranking this shit up. Yeah, almost like Talladega levels, just because it's kind of how we've seen it here.
Global max,
Like 40 with some exceptions.
40, and maybe we'll
like exceptions for like Bubba, Blaney,
bump him and Blaney up to 50.
Yeah, maybe even more for like I don't know, like Bubba, especially maybe like 60. Yeah,
let's go 60 and 55.
There you go.
So yeah, you can do an at least one Dominator rule. I just let it run. I would.
Yeah,
it's probably what I'm going to do.
It's Texas. Texas is inherently silly, and a lot of the times, like the guys who are wrecking are at the very, very front here, especially if they're fast, or they're fast and they're behind someone slower.
Tournament mode and 2 uniques.
Mm-hmm.
Let's let that run and see what it likes. But again, this is really a race where you want to get in here and do the heavy lifting and make some stands and make some adjustments on your own just to make sure you're different.
Mm-hmm.
Big on Wallace, Blaney, and Kez. Likes that PD. Likes Austin Dillon as well. Didn't hear K Smooth's advice, so maybe you need to push that down.
Then just your big 3.
Just hedging its bets, really. And that's why you're going to need to get in there and do some heavy lifting when it comes to tuning this, because you probably don't want to. I'm not sure playing all 3 of these guys at 40% is a recipe for success.
Yeah, and then along with those guys, it's going to play Ty Dillon to afford them and make sense. Some Gill and some John Hunter, Eric Jones.
There you go. What's your confidence that Carson leads the first stage? I think he'll lead at least until the first caution.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever that first caution is. I think every single race we've had here,
I think multiple
the leader has held until the first caution.
Yeah, it's 80 laps, so I think we've had multiple cautions in stage 1 every race.
Yeah. And the leader has led to the first caution every time, but lost the lead on the first caution every time as well. So it's really a matter of when that first caution flies.
Yep.
But I do think he'll hold the lead off the start. We've never seen an example of the leader losing the lead on a start or restart, really.
Mm-hmm. And it's probably a fool's errand to try to bet stage winner in this race, because you don't know who's going to go out there and take 2 tires or whatever.
We'll look at the odds board now. Then we're going to do our win picks, and then I need chat to make some picks themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But first, let's look at the odds board. Let's head over to DK to start. They've still got Denny Hamlin as the favorite. Reddick, they're really hedging their bets at the top of the board. Hocevar shortened up a lot. I think you can still find him at like plus 1,200 in other spots.
Before the pod started, it was Byron, then Hocevar, but he's getting bet up.
Yeah, Hocevar got bet up here as well. Still available at plus 1,000 at BetMGM.
The books are not in agreement at all with the top 3 or just general value in here. We've seen you really want to go book shopping if you're on the books today.
Yeah, for sure. The spots I like Ty Gibbs at plus 1,800.
Mm-hmm.
He was so fast in practice. We know how good his pit crew is. I think there's some upside there. I also like Kez. He's plus 165 for a top 10 on DK. What is he on? Plus 150. I like that. Plus 165 is pretty good for a top 10 for Kez. He's finished top 10 a bunch of times in a row at an intermediate. I also think Ryan Preece at plus 300 is an interesting spot for a top 10.
Mm-hmm.
Also, like we were talking about earlier, you can use the matchup tool on FastLap here to analyze some of these head-to-head. So let's just pick one here, and I'll give you an example.
It's going to be way more useful in the following weeks than this week.
Yeah, like I said, the data is so noisy. Like next week, it'll be fantastic for Watkins Glen and road courses. I kind of want a weird one. Is there any weird head-to-heads?
Let's go to Bovada.
I can't see Bovada. You gotta give me like a Ty Dillon versus a Cole Custer or something.
Wallace versus Gibbs, Kez versus Logano, Host versus Gibbs, Host versus Byron, Hamlin versus Reddick, Hamlin versus
Scroll
Larson.
all the way down to the bottom.
No, I was going bottom up. Yeah, they're not giving me crazy ones. Busher, Gibbs, nah.
Let's do Let's do Byron Hocevar. I think that's an interesting one.
I see 115 each.
So Byron versus Carson Hocevar, both at minus 115. What does the model like? So this is going to run 10,000 races and just analyze the head-to-head between these two drivers. It factors in track history, practice time, starting position, also factors in how pole sitters have performed versus guys with William Byron's kind of driver profile. So run sim.
It's going to like Byron.
I think you're probably right. That's pretty even. It actually thinks this is a pretty decent line compared to
a terrible line. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the juice is terrible, but you can also go through. So it'll have some track stats head to head. It'll do some head to head matchups here. So 32 out of 44 times they've shared the track. Byron has won. Obviously, different this week with their starting positions. There's also a DFS analyzer up top. A question we get a lot is like, can I play obviously Larson and Hamlin together? This will tell you how correlated their results are. So if you do a run here, let me take the odds out of Larson and Hamlin, chances are it's going to tell you that their DFS picks are negatively correlated, because if Larson's going out and dominating, that means that Hamlin's probably not. So if you ever have that question, like, can I play these two guys together? Just put them in this head-to-head tool and it'll show you how correlated their results are. Very useful. Let's see. I usually uncheck a few drivers each week. Is this one of those tracks where truly everyone is in play? Most, I would say, you can probably...
We're not playing Chad Fincham. I'm sorry. Hate to break it to you.
I did see, was Case Moose said he's got a couple Fincham lines squeezed in.
Hey, good luck with that, bro. We're probably not playing Zilich either.
There's a couple you can probably uncheck, but I wouldn't uncheck very many because it is kind of one of those races where things get messy at the end.
Yeah, really just Ware, Zilich, and Fincham.
Suarez shocks the world today. I would love a Suarez win. That would be fantastic. Imagine Hocevar 1 week, Suarez the next.
Yeah, just Spire W's everywhere. Maybe they'd be too good for Kyle Busch.
Last thing I want to look at before we get into your guys' picks is the pick 6 board.
Hey, they lowered Hocevar. He was 5.5. Now he's 7.5.
One I always love to attack is these laps led and fastest lap lines. So Hocevar 62.5, fastest laps 25 and 21.
I feel like he just gets shuffled out. We've seen that first caution come within the first 40 laps every time.
Yeah, I lean under here because if that first caution comes early, he's going to get shuffled out probably and lose the opportunity to get these many fast laps. But if that first caution runs green, then he just needs to survive a green flag pit stop, and we've seen him be pretty good. So I would lean less here. Hamlin, hard to say. I think we don't really know enough about what he's capable of on Texas because he's run so poorly here. I do want to go to the historical tab and sort by fast laps. So in the last 4 years, we've had 4 drivers go over 61 laps or 60 laps led. Twice they were the pole sitter, but it was Wallace and Larson. And 3 times we've seen that it's been Larson. So I would lean under when it comes to Hocevar. I also want to look at the 4 pole sitters. What have they gotten for fast laps? So Larson has had more than 25. The rest of them have all been under, including Hocevar. So yeah, I think I would lean under on laps led and fastest laps here.
Especially with the carnage rate.
I don't think I would do anything with Hamlin here just because I don't think we have enough data. Finishing position, I think any of these are interesting just because how noisy these races get towards the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had Hocevar top 5 earlier, didn't we? And now he's down to 7.5.
Yeah, he was 5.5. Just like Byron here, like really, you want to attack worse at a carnage race like this for sure.
Kyle Busch 13.5 seems high, no?
Yeah, that's the one I was just staring at.
So maybe a worse there.
Kyle Busch with a better prop than Joey Logano. How about that?
Bubba Wallace top 10 or like top 12 is interesting, but I think we'll all be so invested in him in DFS that to put more money behind him in pick 6 would be a bit of a
You can almost
scary proposition. I would take Gibbs. I think Gibbs will run well today. Again, I don't like taking betters at all at Texas just because these races get so noisy, but maybe this is just the line. Hocevar less than 62.5 lead and Busch less than 13.5.
Yeah.
Could be the move.
For me, I'm taking Bell worst to hedge from DFS.
The Bell hedge here. Interesting. What was the question I saw? Clear path DS. Reddick and Larson, do they correlate well? I'm going to assume there's
Probably
negative
not.
correlation because
Almost
they're both
no.
prospective dominators, but let's look. Tyler Reddick, so I think it was minus 0.12 was what Hamlin and Larson were. Larson, so it was 0.12 for Larson Hamlin, 0.1 for
that's not a lot.
Reddick Bell. It's about the same.
Larson was starting 11th.
There is some negative correlation, but maybe not significant enough to flag the system.
Okay, we're 2 hours in. I actually have to go somewhat soon, so we need to do that season
again, bro.
We're enjoying ourselves. We're having a good time, making the best of what we can out of a Texas race.
All right.
Super mogged last week. I got super speedwayed hard. So did chat.
So we've been running a season long. We do a win pick every week and a best DFS pick every week. And then chat, you're going to make a pick as well. I've already got the poll. It's been running. I need to check what the results are for your win pick. But last week, Carson Hocevar, my boy, my second win of the season, back to form.
I would have felt wrong taking Hocevar because I knew that was your pick, and so I finally started to believe in the Larson Super Speedway. I literally used it to hedge, and yeah, that did not work out well for me at all.
Is it my turn to pick first?
It indeed is, which means I get SPG next week. Very cool.
Darn it! Probably means I'm going Zilich. Win pick, I lean Reddick here. I've been pretty bullish on Reddick all day. I think I'm going to go with Reddick. For the second time this season. He's got me a win already. Let's see if he can get me another one. I will go Tyler Reddick. I'll need you to.
I can't take Larson 3 times in 4 weeks, can I?
Sure, you can.
Hey, man.
You'll have to put it in. I don't think I have access to them.
Oh, I got you. Don't worry. I should send you access.
Let me
pull it up here.
There is a poll going. What did the chat pick? The chat voted other. Which means I have to let you guys. So, guys, put who's your win pick? Put it in the chat. I need win picks from the chat. Then we'll do a quick poll to get a consensus if there's no consensus. Chris Buescher wins.
I have to go Kyle Larson here.
I'm
literally
chat puts their win picks in the comments. We'll move over to our best fantasy plays. Chat, you can pick whoever you want for best fantasy play. Me and Taco can only use one driver once every season. So I pick first. Who's my best? I don't want to burn Bubba Wallace. Austin Dillon, I've been told I can't play. K Smooth says that's a no-go.
Well, Richmond too.
Yeah. He winning upside at Richmond. Oh, yeah. You know what? I've already used Kez.
Yeah. It could be Ty Dillon week for you. He was great for me last week.
I don't know if I want to use Ty. I think I've already used Ty Dillon, haven't I?
Oh, yeah, you did.
I used him at Daytona.
Yeah, we both burned Ty Dillon.
I'm in trouble here.
Yeah.
I am in trouble. Boy, oh boy. Yeah. Have I used Bubba? I guess maybe I have to use Bubba.
Damn.
I'll go Bubba as my best DFS play.
Yeah. I mean, I knew you were going to pick Bubba. It just made way too much sense there.
Taco, your best DFS play today.
Well, obviously, you can't go Blaney. Hold on. I need to look at something real fast.
Yeah, no problem.
Very important. Go for the chat. I literally need to count up to see who picks first at Richmond.
So win picks for the chat at Texas. Put your favorite win pick. Buescher, Reddick, Larson, Reddick, Buescher. So no consensus. I'll run a poll really quick, guys. Between those three, who wins? Larson, Reddick, or Busher? I think I spelled Busher wrong, but that's okay.
Boosh.
How do you spell? I think that's right. Okay. Create.
That's indeed a tough one. I think I'm just going to have to forego my boy Austin Dillon at Richmond and just run Austin Dillon here.
Fair enough. You've got the K-Smooth curse?
Yeah, I'll take that head on. I'll apply it directly to the forehead.
Okay, chat.
Right, chat.
Pick.
Who's your
one for
pick?
Larson, 2 for Reddick, 3 for Busher. 1 for Larson, 2 for Reddick, 3 for Busher. Put it in the chat. 1, 2, or 3. 1 for Larson, 2 for Reddick, 3 for Christopher Busher. I met Christopher Busher at Watkins Glen one time. He was a very nice gentleman.
The only guy I've met is Keselowski. Oh, and Spencer Boyd. He was cool.
Shout out Spencer Boyd.
Hell yeah.
I had a nice conversation with Nick Sanchez at Martinsville. Rest in peace, my king. Okay, this is close. 1 for Larson, 2 for Reddick, 3 for Busher. For Chat's pick. Chat, you guys haven't got a win pick right all season. This is important.
Neither have I, to be fair. Also, a side note, are we going to get Nick Sanchez back? I feel like he's too good to not be racing.
Listen,
like a Texas without Nick Sanchez feels wrong.
Let's get Parker Retzlaff in an A-level ride, and Nick Sanchez can have the Viking Motorsports one. Chat, you can't tie. We can't. I need a tiebreaker here. We can't be here all day. I need one more vote. Larson, Reddick, or Busher, and then I'm ending the poll. Somebody. There's 180 in here. Please. I need one more. I'm not running it again. I need one vote. I met Tyler Majeski. A drunk guy was hitting on him. Hell yeah.
What if he cracked? There we go, Reddick.
There we go, Reddick. It's over. Chat picks Reddick.
All right.
Larson vote came in right at the end, but we're gonna ignore that. It's Tyler Reddick for chat. I'm with you guys. And then best DFS play. Who's your best DFS play? Chat. I saw a couple. Bubba's a good DFS play. I think Kyle Busch got a vote. Oh, that was K-Smooth.
That's trolling. All
right. Best DFS play. Really quick. You going Reddick again. 2. Okay, that would have been broken the tie.
Cindric, you mean?
Wallace. Best DFS play. Let's just go. Yeah, it's a lot of Wallace. Let's go Wallace for chat. We got to get out of here. It's been 2.5 hours.
Hell yeah.
There it is, chat. Win picks Tyler Reddick for us. Taco's going with Kyle Larson, and we're going Bubba Wallace for best DFS play. Taco's going for Austin Dillon. 2-hour stream today at a track that we thought we would be done within an hour, but you know how I like to talk. Real quick before I get you guys out of here, I wanted to thank. There was a really nice comment up here, and we got busy. Just got to say, this content is awesome weekly. I had profit every week except Talladega, and NASCAR is literally the best DFS I know the least, or is literally the DFS I know the least about. Ready to get back on the horse today. Thank you so much, Sacktown. This has been so fun to do with you guys.
Sacktown, you had to get in the snakes. That's where the money was last week. You had to get in those snakes, man.
I said this last week, but I want to reiterate it. I've been producing DFS shows for years now, and the comments can be inherently very divisive and can be mean. This is the best DFS community. This NASCAR show in particular, it's the same guys in here, guys and gals in here every week, and you guys are so awesome. It's so fun to do this show. So thank you so much. DFSarmy.com/NASCAR. Get signed up. Get access to all the tools we use today, as well as the Domination Station and the Discord, and fastlap.io. Try it out. I will get the salaries fixed in the sim as soon as the show is over. Like the video for us. Subscribe if you want to. We'll be back next week for 3 Watkins Glen races, including one at 4:30 Eastern PM on Friday.
Hell yeah.
We're going to have to do a lunch show or something.
I'm down with it.
Hell yeah.
And then we get beautiful, wonderful S-tier prime coverage for 5 straight weeks.
Yeah. I don't want to compete with the DFS Army Discord, and I love that Discord so much, but I know there's folks in here that aren't in the DFS Army. Maybe we need to start like a show Discord or something, or just so the guys that aren't in the Discord we can keep in contact with too. We'll figure that out this week. Alas, dfsarmy.com/NASCAR in the meantime, fastlap.io. Very great show. Thank you guys so much for coming out. Enjoy the race today. Hopefully it's a good one, and hopefully it's a profitable one. Taco, I think you got to say it, bro.
All right. Despite it being Texas, you know what? You gotta do it here. Helmets up today. Let's make some money this afternoon.